Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin TV audiobook channel, chapter 481. The Royal Rewards Arad stood. We should head back. Baltos must be waiting. He sure is. The two brothers looked back, seeing Eris staring at them from afar. She had escaped once they started fighting and was waiting for them to finish. They immediately teleported to her. We're going back, you coming as well? Arad asked. Yeah, I can train later. For now, we should head back. Eris pointed up with a finger, creating a small ball of plasma. It's just that I want to play with my magic. It's fun, isn't it? Gojo smiled, creating an ice dagger in his hand. The ability to draw on air freely with mana. Is it that fun? Arad looked at him. Magic is a weapon like any other, just more versatile. Close your eyes and imagine. What could do if all the magic in the world was limited to a 10-centimeter cube of ice creation? Gojo opened his palm and ice started forming into keys, apples, a humanoid doll, a hand, a rose, a spoon, and different shapes, making trinkets? Arad looked at him, confused look. Gojo waved his hand, creating multiple tiny cubes with pegs and holes on them so they stick together. Just by stacking them, he formed an ice wall. Even when limited to such a small size, you can still make big things by cutting them to pieces. He quickly created a small knife and an ice ball in his hand. You're going to fight with those? Arad asked. Why not? I can be the ice cube warrior and beat everyone. Magic is like paint, and the world is our canvas. The limit is our creativity, and creativity is limitless. With one flick of his finger, he creates a doll in Arad's shape of ice. Magic is limitless as long as you understand its rules. Eris looked at him. Well, wizards aren't one of the strongest classes for nothing. Arad stared at his doll with a puzzled face. It was well made for something that Gojo created on a whim. I won't say that. Gojo looked at her. Wizards are pathetic mages. Those bookworms keep their noses down and lick ink for a living. What's the fun in using pre-written spells while you can make your own? He then scratched his hand. I guess those spells are tested and optimized to achieve the most power and use the bare minimum amount of mana, so they are an easy way to power for humans who lack mana. We have a lot of it, or rather we regenerate it faster than them, Arad replied. But I'm relying on mana absorption to keep up. Gojo smiled. We aren't human, remember that. He waved his hand, teleporting everyone to the castle with one void step. Immediately, one maid spotted them appearing out of nowhere in the garden and called, Lord Arad, His Majesty has been waiting. I have to go. Arad rushed after her as Gojo and Eris walked at their own pace, finally reaching the throne room. When Arad opened the door, all the nobles inside stared at him, gossiping as he walked toward the throne. In front of him, he could see the girls lined up, except Jack, who was already sitting down with crossed legs. Arad, what took you so long? He asked with a smile. I checked up on Eris and brother, he pointed back as the two opened the door and walked in. We even had a short spar. Gehi. The nobles' gasps were audible. They knew Arad was strong, so having another spar with him was quite unexpected. How did it go? Baltos asked from his throne. I lost. Arad sighed. It wasn't even fair. He stared back at Gojo. I didn't cheat, did I? I just have better control than you, being older and such. Gojo giggled. Just then the nobles realized Arad wasn't the biggest problem in the room. It was his older brother. Aela approached Arad with a smile. We've already been talking before you came. A few surprises await you. Zephyr giggled. I got us a nice deal with the paladins as well. Less of a deal and more of a treaty, Lydia said in the back, pulling Jack up to stand. They won't interfere with you, and will hold your word first in case of a problem unless proven otherwise. He won't understand like that. Alphonse walked out from between the nobles. You won't be chased or hunted by our forces across the country, and even if you were to be accused of a crime, we will take your word as trustworthy unless proven otherwise. When vampires are usually killed on sight, I guess this is quite a desired outcome. Well, I doubt they can kill me without suffering major losses. Arad smiled, shaking Alphonse's hand. What should I say? Thank you, honored. Nothing. We're the ones who should be thanking you for saving the capital, Alphonse smiled. Not like they have a choice, Gojo said in the back, his hands behind his head. If they were to kill you, I will erase this whole kingdom. Eris glared at him. Stop joking. You're not funny. Gojo stared at the king, his eyes glowing with a blue flare. I'm not joking. Silence fell. Arad is currently my only family and kin who I can approach and talk with. Harm him and you're on my list. This tiny kingdom of yours fit nicely in my jaw. Arad thought about it. In his jaw, does he mean weight? I'm a young dragon, and my void expansion grow to 4 kilometers. He's an adult. 3 stages above me, juvenile, 40 kilometers, young adult, 400 kilometers, adult. So his grow up to... He started counting on his fingers. It's that big, Arad gasped. Everyone stared at Arad as he gasped. He isn't joking. It probably would fit. You just realized. Gojo stared at Arad. That black sphere of magic Arad creates, I also have one, and mine can spread up to 4,000 kilometers, and inside it, countless of that beam that burned the mountains range fires down indefinitely. He stared at Baltos. Take it as a threat, a bluff, or however you like. My point is that I'm more dragon than human. Attack my kind, and I go on a rampage. Izdis stared at Arad and Gojo. Let's stop the scary talk and get to the rewards. I can't wait to get back home. I thought you would be running for the throne. Jack stared at her, and she almost kicked him. That would have to wait, she said. Sister is right. Thomas, the current first prince, approached. Charlie pointed at King Baltos in the back. Father is still alive and kicking. I say we have a few years to prepare before we can go for the throne, unless one of you is as stupid as a certain someone. Baltos laughed in the back. Sorry, but I will stay stuck to this chair until I die. You have to rack up achievement in the meantime. Currently, Izdis and Arad are at the lead with saving the capital. If things remain the same, in a few years when Baltos dies, Izdis would inherit the throne, and Arad as her husband would be the king, albeit the power would remain in her hand as she's the one with royal blood. That means only her children can inherit the throne. Arad's other wives' children, albeit being the offspring of the king, cannot inherit the throne. Baltos looked at the back and waved his hand. Bring it to me, with his voice. 2 butlers approached carrying a large pillow with a flag folded on it. Starting from today, this would be our new flag, a symbol of peace between us and dragon mediator Arad Orion. It was the same flag with a dragon head beside the rose. Izdis giggled, whispering to Arad. The nation's flags are made of demon spider silk and are expensive. To save costs, I asked them to just knit a dragon symbol on the previous flag, since we're going to have all cities and forts do the same for theirs. I hope you don't mind. Why would I mind? That was smart. Arad smiled. And for the actual reward, Baltos stood kin and Jin approaching him carrying a large box with a silver key on top of it. Baltos took the key and approached Arad with a smile on his face. I hereby announce that Alina's mountain range is now called the Orion Valley and is under the jurisdiction of Arad Orion as its new ruler. This change shall not affect land owned by the Lord of Alina. He handed the key to Arad. Arad took the key and looked. Is there a hole in the mountain I should be sticking this key into? Baltos giggled. No, it's just the key for that, he pointed at the chest. As the current king of the kingdom of Ruris, and on behalf of all its people I hereby invest a portion of our wealth in the funding of the savior Arad Orion's new domain. He pointed back at the chest. 500 platinum coins worth of gold and jewelry shall be granted. I was thinking of building a castle there, one large enough to host dragons and humans alike, Arad said. That won't be a problem, Baltos smiled. I can arrange that with some help. He looked back at Kin. Leave it to me. Chapter 482. Dawn of Cinder. Rot in the Wind. Several days before, in Alina, the incident with Merida's father happened. Noble messengers came looking for her, got a bit rough, and resulted in his death. Merida was taken by Roberta, Sarah, and Lila back to Arad's house, while Nina and Miriam decided to seek the noble who sent the killers and bring him to justice. but it was then that they heard the news. Cain Lisworth, the herbalist of the city, has headed there before them alone. Nina and Miriam ran through the city, seeing Alcott and Ginger for assistance. Crack. They kicked the bathhouse door open. Alcott, we need help. Alcott walked downstairs, yawning. Did something happen? It's quite bad, Nina explained what happened to him as briefly as she could. Got it, Alcott shouted as he looked deeper into the house. Ginger, get ready, we have a mission, an urgent one. He pulled his armor from the wardrobe close to the entrance and started wearing it with Nina's help. First objective, save the old man, Cain. The second one is bringing that stupid noble with us, he shouted, and Ginger replied from inside the house as she changed. Got it, swash, from the sky. Merlin flew in on her broom. I heard what happened. I'm coming as well. Alcott smiled, being a while since we formed a party. Nina, Merlin, Alcott, and Ginger. 2 frontline fighters and 2 mages, such formation was quite popular for its versatility, and the mere fact Alcott and Nina are in the same team again was horrifying to most Miriam. Being with them almost didn't make a difference, but none knew her powers yet. Old adventurers who saw them running across the street immediately knew something must have gone extremely wrong. The 5 of them rode a carriage to Riverside, hoping to catch Cain before reaching Lord Foran's territory and getting himself killed. On their way, they saw the old man walking back to Alina, 1 step at a time, leaning on his cane as if he were coming back from a stroll. The carriage stopped, and Alcott jumped off. You old man, he smiled. Thank the gods you had some sense in your head. Don't charge off like that again. Cain looked at him. Isn't it, Alcott? How is your health? I'm fine, thank you, but please don't scare us again. We will deal with Lord Foran and bring him to justice. Alcott tapped Cain's shoulder. Foran! Ah! You mean that old fool? He's already dead? Everyone froze for a second. You killed him, Nina gasped in the back. Come on, you're joking, right? Cain giggled, tapping his back. What could those old bones do? I went there to give him an earful, but the fool summoned a devil and his wife a demon. They died by their own magic. A few hours earlier, Cain reached Riverside's main gate staring up at the guard. Mind opening for an old man? The guards stared at each other. Open the gate. Crackle. The gate slowly opened and the guards approached Cain. Do you need any help? Food, water, a place to rest? Cain nodded. Yeah, a place to rest would be nice. My back hurts. He tapped his back. Mind showing me the closest inn? The guards pointed into the city. Follow the main road and ask for directions at its end. The inn is called the Floating Boat. Thanks, my sons. Cain walked into the city unhindered by the guards. 1 step at a time, Cain walked past the inn and headed into the Lord's mansion. Mist step engulfed in silver smoke, he teleported into the mansion, landing in front of the main door. Knock, knock, click. The wooden door opened, and a butler stared at him. Who are you? I'm looking for that old fart Foran. He's inside, right? Cain asked. The butler gave him a strange stare. Insulting a city lord is punished by death. Unless he's an old friend, judging by his age and the fact the guards let him in, that might be the case. Please, excuse me. Come inside, and I will call Lord Foran. The butler bowed. No need. Lord Foran looked down from the window, his wife at his side. We talk in the garden. Cain walked toward the garden's tea table, taking a seat as Lord Foran and his wife came, surrounded by 10 armed guards. They sat facing Cain. So who are you and what brought you here? Leon said. You might be an old friend, but I don't remember your face. Lord Foran smiled, waving with his hand, and the guards pointed their spears at Cain. Me? You men must have brought you the news, right? Cain smiled. You done it, and killed a man I held as a friend. Lord Foran grunted. His eyes flared. That's none of your business, old man. You barely have any years left, and you want to waste them by coming here? Honestly. Cain lifted a cup of tea and everyone gasped. They didn't bring tea. Where did it come from? Everyone dies when their time comes. He was no different. That day, he should have died in another way than being stabbed to death. Cain poured his tea into the table. I'm here for blood, and those soldiers smell of his blood. He sighed. Burn everything to ash, spirit of Phlegethos, in Anna, clap. In the blink of an eye, the soldiers surrounding Cain got diced into minced meat, burning into ash by hellish black flames. Thud, Lord Foran and his wife lunged back, sweating. You aren't half bad, wizard. He waved his hand. By blood contract, I call from a soldier from hell, a true incarnation of evil hell spawn. Lord Foran's right arm glows with a crimson light. His wife giggled. Let's do it. By blood contract, I call forth a soldier from the abyss, a true incarnation of violence, a demon. Her left arm dripped with black goo. Pitmaster of hell, Spindle, Foran growled. Demon lord of the abyss, Demogorgon. His wife laughed as two massive gates opened behind their backs. Behind Lord the bone gate of hell emerged from the ground. Its doors two skeletons cut in half. Each bone crackled as the door forced open. Chains crackling from inside as a foul, horrid smell rushed out, rotten flesh, acid, charred bones, and eons of agony and decomposition. From the gate of hell, a massive imp-like devil standing 20 meters tall walked out, wearing a robe of chain and skulls, 7 horns on his head as the fire burned on his back. At his left hand, he dragged a massive cleaver made from the bones of sinners. The gate behind the wife shattered, crumbling into a black hole of the abyss, sucking air as it flew into the sky, shattering it like glass from the cracks. 2 massive tentacles emerged, and a 2-headed, gigantic, ape-like demon looked down. Crack! Expanding the crack in the sky, the demon lord jumped down, landing at 50 meters tall. He had 2 tentacles, arms, a scorpion-like tail, and fish-like scales across his torso and spiny back. He growled, staring down at the woman who just summoned him. Lord Foran and his wife laughed. With such power, we could take over the whole kingdom. No, the world itself won't stand a chance against us. Cain stood looking at the devil Spindle. Ah, Master, Spindle missed you a lot. The massive devil wiggled like a sick lamb and jumped to Cain's side with a smile on his ugly face, and he bowed down. Cain patted Spindle's head with a smile. You've grown a lot since the last time I saw you. How are you doing? Spindle had a lot of fun and children. The devil replied with a thankful smile. I'm now a pit fiend in the lower hells. Devils can't bully Spindle anymore. Lord Foran started shaking in place. Kill him, he shouted, but Spindle glared back at him. Cain looked at Spindle. Handle it however you see fit. Thud. Spindle lifted his hand. To hell with you. Hundreds of burning hot chains rushed from the gate of hell, snatching Lord Foran and dragging him to hell as he screamed. Are you sure? Cain looked at Spindle. You had a contract with him. His souls matter not to Spindle. I do not bite the hand that fed me, even if I were to starve to death. Spindle stood. Want me to deal with that thing? He glared at the demon Lord Demogorgon. No need, you go rest and deal with stupid Lord, I will handle everything here, Cain replied, and Spindle bowed one last time before walking back into hell. Cain looked at the Lord's wife. So it's your turn, he mumbled. Kill him, kill him, kill him now, Foran's wife screamed her lungs out, pointing at Cain. Demogorgon stared at Cain with a smile. Each of his head giggled. I can smell death on you. Your bones have grown fragile, and you've gotten old and weak. He glared at Cain. Humph, Cain sighed, lifting his cane up. Me getting weaker doesn't mean you got stronger. Even the dying corpse of a man can still crush ants. Clack. Black tentacles rushed out of the abyss gate, wrapping around Foran's wife and Demogorgon. She pissed herself in terror, and the demon roared. You bastard. Foran's wife stared back at the gate, seeing a massive maw with thousands of sharp opal teeth waiting. Please, let me go, she cried. Cain pointed his staff forward. The kids won't be able to defeat you now, so I have to take care of you. Clack! The tentacles pulled Foran's wife and Demogorgon toward the maw, where they were chewed alive before the abyss gate closed. Cain sighed, flicking his fingers, and the sky flickered. The barrier he already set faded. Thud. Jemima appeared behind him. Master, did you have to do that? She left him in this city because she knew I would protect him, he replied. What do you think would happen if Arad came back and found Alcott dead? He would have charged alone and died to the Demogorgon as well, she replied. How many souls did they sacrifice to summon him? Cain pointed toward the mountain. They didn't pay in souls. They planted that thing in the world on his behalf. Jemima looked and her face twisted, crimson rot of the abyss. This is bad. She was about to go deal with it, but Cain stopped her. We interfered enough. Arad can deal with that. Leave it to him when he comes back. He smiled. Chapter 483, Yuaku. No Kyomu. Claps boomed across the capital as a white carriage raced across the street. Arad stretched his head out of the window and sighed. Do they have to do this? Let them celebrate. It's the least they can do now. Isdis replied from beside him. She then looked out with him, waving her hand to the crowds only to get them fired even more. Humans always celebrate every small thing. Zephyr appeared above Ayala's head, sitting on her hair and stretching her arms. Thud, Ayala caught her with one hand, squeezing small thing. Saving the city? There was nothing to save from Vars, and that Chuzuke kid would have perished sooner or later to the paladins if we left him. Zephyr replied as Ayala shook her like a can of soda. Eris sat beside Ayala with a worried face. Is no one going to mention this? She pointed at the ceiling. Everyone there, including Mira and the two maids, Ray and Ray, looked away. Mira turned toward Arad. More importantly, what about Sarah's request? I have some minions around dealing with it. You can say the underground scene was already invaded by me when I first went to the forest. Sarah had asked Arad to put her name out there in the capital, give her some power, and release some shipments the local gangs blocked. The bandits he controlled were efficient and bold as they had the backing of a dragon, and they made light work of the local gangs in one swoop. They are now under Arad's indirect control. That's good to hear. We need Sarah to secure supplies. Mira smiled. The rare ones Isdis stared at her. High-capacity lightning crystals are illegal to transport or own without a license for a reason. She looked at Arad. They burn backs when they explode. There is no invention without some small failures, Mira said with a smile. Isdis glared at her with bloodied eyes. We could see your damned spine, and you smelled like roast beef. No more playing with dangerous crystals. Chai-Ai, Mira sighed, looking away. What do you say, Arad? Isdis is right, he replied with a stern voice. I will test any dangerous weapon you make first. I'm the most durable of us. That would make more sense, Isdis added. What do you say? I don't want to see him hurt, Ayala replied with a pained smile. He can take it. Roast him, Zephyr gasped. Oi, I said. Someone explains this to me, Eris growled, pointing at the carriage ceiling with a red face. Don't act as if she isn't there. Arad looked at Eris with a passive face. He then looked at the ceiling. A naked, pale-skinned elvish woman with hair like the night sky and purple eyes stared back at him, latched to the ceiling like a spider. I see nothing, he replied. Isdis and her maids looked up, but they saw nothing. Mira and Alla were the same. To them, no one was on the ceiling. Stop pretending. Eris growled, and Arad looked away. Zephyr the same. You two can see her as well. Why aren't you saying anything? Well, Zephyr scratched her cheek. Her kind are prone to seducing people. You can even go blind looking at her. Zephyr is watering down her look with magic, and even so, only us three see her without getting blinded, Arad replied. I bet brother can see her as well. The nymph born from the capital's central park, Arad's draconic existence, and Zephyr's magic kept close to them. Arad and Zephyr were two of her three sources, and she must stay close. Aella giggled. I can't see her, but I can feel her presence. She looked at Eris. It's honestly a bit creepy, like someone is constantly watching me. Eris could see the nymph sitting on the ceiling upside down, staring directly at Aella's face. Because she's staring at your face, Eris growled. Leave her be for now. Zephyr said, standing on Aella's head. She's akin to a ghost now. We can't put clothes on her. Once we get back, I will perform a ritual to give her a dryad body. We can make her wear something then. Zephyr is right, Arad confirmed. That should also limit her blinding people part. Or so Doma said, clack. A mouth opened on Arad's cheek. She's the embodiment of beauty. When you look at her, your brain shorts as it tries to process her form and bleed internally, causing blindness. But that shouldn't be a problem if we put her inside a relatively ugly dryad body. I do remember the nymph we saw with that monk, Ayla said. What abilities does this one have? She looked up. Do you have a name? She's sitting beside you, Eris said, and Ayla immediately turned left, extending her hand. What's your name? The other side, Eris added, and Ayla turned again. Sorry, what's your name? She doesn't have one yet, Zephyr replied. We should be careful with what name we give her. Why? Eris asked. Depending on what name you give her, her powers might change. I wouldn't want to give her something scary, Zephyr explained. She's a concept, the embodiment of the beauty of a place. The noisy canyon, the crying canyon, the weeping canyon, and the wailing canyon. Which one sounds the worst? The name of a place is a part of its natural beauty or mystic. Changing the name can make it look sad, terrifying, or precious. Ayla nodded. You Fae are full of shit, Eris sighed. A name doesn't dictate the person, but does dictate the place, say Doma. Is that true? Arad asked, to confirm. It's true. I can give her a name if you want. Which one would you prefer? A calm one, a powerful one, or an unfair one, or all at the same time? Doma giggled in his head. She was up to no good. All at one, as long as she's on our side. She should have all the power she can hold, Arad replied, and Doma smiled. Then call her this. Arad looked up at the nymph. I got a name for you. She stared back at him, endless darkness dancing in her eyes. Oi, what are you doing? Zephyr stared at Arad. Don't say anything. You can't change the name later. Yuwaku no Kiyomu seducing void. I will call you Yuwaku Kiyomu. Arad stated her name, and Yuwaku's innate magic changed to reflect her name. Come to me. Everyone could hear those sweet words getting the urge to vomit. Hold it in. It's your soul's coming out. As Zephyr screamed for a moment, she felt as if her body was falling into an endless void, a curse name, that Doma. I bet this was her doing. Arad stood tapping Yuwaku's head. Stop it. She stared back at him, holding her head. It hurt, the seducing call of the void. Upon contacting her by any means, sight, hearing, smell, touch, or anything, she can send people into a trance instead of blinding them, urging them to jump into the abyss of your stomach. Doma laughed inside Arad's mind. She's the beautiful nymph dancing and tricking travelers to wander deeper into the forest, chasing after her until they found themselves in the maws of a dragon. Chapter 484, Agnar Asim. Gojo turned around, looking toward Arad's carriage from his... That nymph's power changed, he mumbled. The what? Lilia stared at him. Nothing important to us, he replied with a smile, looking around. Gug sat in the corner watching the building pass by like a kid. Jack sat on the other side flipping a coin while Lydia read the Holy Scripture. That fight ended quickly. He said, I'm surprised you were ready to deal the finishing blow. Lydia stopped reading and closed the book. To finish a vampire, you need holy magic. Arad could eat Chuzuke, but that might hurt his stomach. She touched the hilt of her sword. I'm sure Arad didn't want to take chances with Chuzuke escaping again, so I expected to be called from the start. She smiled. Isn't it arrogant to expect a dragon to need your help? I only expect my duty to slay undead and fiends. Arad isn't stupid enough not to use his friends, she replied. Gojo laughed. You're right, but do you know there's another way to bury infinitely regenerating monsters? Another way besides holy magic? Erase their body, Gojo replied. They won't regenerate without a base, so it's not to leave a single drop of blood. Overwhelm a vampire with firepower. She nodded. I will keep that in mind. Jack looked at Liliana. Sister? What? She stared at him. Can't wear? Well, something less revealing. He pointed at Lydia, like her. Swash. Lilia tried to kick him in the face, but he dodged. Mind your own business. It's easier to work like this. Liliana growled at him. You're always been like this, he sighed. Lydia stared at Liliana. How is a tiefling Jack's sister? She asked. I'm not his blood sister. I raised the abandoned children on the street and gave them food and shelter to survive. At some point, I became everyone's elder sister, Liliana replied. She's why most of Alina's thieves are on good terms with each other. We're all brothers raised under her, Jack added. Some thieves were mentioning a brotherhood. Lydia sighed. So that's what they meant. The city gate opened and the carriages strolled out. Arid looked out of the window toward the driver's seat. So, care to tell me why you're here? The kid stared back at Arad sitting beside his mother who was driving. Agnar, Azim, the kid said, then pointed at his mother. Sophia Athor, and my father there is Simon Azim. He pointed at Gojo's carriage. His father sat beside Sebas, the sacrifice they saved. I didn't ask for your name, but why are you here? Arad stared at him. Our farm burned to ash, so we're working in transport now, Agnar replied. Arad looked, seeing the kid still carrying his wooden sword. I'm not dealing with a wannabe hero 5-year-old brat. You underestimate the blade. The capital is in good hands now, and I shall seek experience, Agnar replied, holding his blade's hilt. Start by carrying a real sword. Arad stared at him. I'm not allowed to until I reach 7 years at least, Agnar replied with a proud face. Right, Mom. I don't know anymore, she sighed. I know you're stronger than your age, but you're still a kid. I fear you might jump into danger and get yourself hurt. Like how he jumped into my fight with Chuzuke? Arad stared at Agnar with a smug smile. I do not sit like a pig in a pen and hope someone else saves the day. Agnar stared at Arad. I'm a hunter, a weak, clawless, and fangless one, but a predator nonetheless. The tiny lion cub stood growling and hissing at the wolves. He won't go down without a fight, she giggled. This kid will grow to be strong one day. You did kill a lot of undead after all, Arad sighed. Sophia looked forward. Ghouls attacked our house. Those aren't monsters we hope to win against. But he hunted them down. I don't know whether to be proud or scared for him. Just let him join the guild when he grows or send him to the Knight's Order, Arad replied. He should thrive there. Agnar looked at Arad. We're going with you to Alina, I said. The capital doesn't need my protection. Arad smiled. You don't know, but this carriage is only a dummy and will stop when we enter the forest. I'm carrying everyone back home. As I said, I'm going to Alina with you. He stared at Arad. You aren't. I need a powerful master, someone I can learn fighting from, Agnar added. I don't teach people. I can barely learn myself, Arad cried. You're going to build a castle there, aren't you? Agnar stared at Arad. I'm sure you can afford a disciple or two, maybe even a guard. I'm not going to hire a brat to guard a castle, Arad sighed, looking at Agnar's mother. He then looked at his father in Gojo's carriage. What about your parents? Arad asked. They are coming with me. Our house got half destroyed by the undead attack, Agnar replied. Arad sighed. Fine, but you're servants until we finish the castle. He slipped back into the carriage, sitting and taking a deep breath. You took him in? Mom asked. Isn't it better to catch a talent young? Arad knew he needed to gather servants, soldiers, and workers for the castle at some point. The place wouldn't magically manage itself. What about the bandits? We'll leave them here. I can contact them through Sarah, as she will take control of the capital's underground. He thought. What are you thinking of? Izdis stared at Arad with a smile. The castle's plans. I want a large hall training ground and a massive personal quarter. A basement leading to the dungeon beneath my house would be a must. Izdis smiled. The builders and experts will arrive in 3 to 4 weeks. They will start the work, and we can tell them how we want the castle. Ray stared at Arad. The problem with building a castle is moving material. They are too heavy. Ray nodded. Castles and forts are an essential structure to any kingdom. We did the studies and have the know-how to build them however we like. Isdis looked at Arad. We know more about building castles and forts than homes or roads. It's funny, isn't it? They are engines of war, Mira added. Of course you would know how to build them. Chapter 485, Uninvited Guest. The carriages rolled out of the city as the people cheered. Arad looked back at the capital's gate. I hope they don't keep watching us for long. Ella giggled. Would it matter? She looked at the gate with him. You can teleport us away with a void step before flying. Arad nodded. I was thinking of carrying the whole carriage instead of having you ride on my back. She looked around. We're not sending the carriages back. She giggled. They were numerous to ride on Arad's back. Crackle. Gojo heard something in the back of his carriage. He turned. Did you hear that? He asked. Only luggage rolling in the back, Liliana replied. No, Gojo looked back. That sounded like flesh on wood, and a soft one at that. You know, it's weird if you can tell that. Lydia stared at him. You can sense people and animals like Arad. You would have sensed if anyone was there. Jack stared at him. Gojo thought about it for a second, looking out of the window. Stop the carriage. We have an uninvited guest. The carriage stopped, and so did Arad's carriage. Gojo walked out and opened the luggage storage in the back. There is only one person who can slip through my detection, Gojo said as Arad and the rest walked out of the carriage to check what happened. Click inside the luggage locker, he looked around, only seeing their bags. There is nothing inside. Liliana sighed, looking inside. Wiggle, wiggle? It was small, but he saw that one of the bags moved a hair strand. Gojo lifted the bag, opened it, and took a look inside. Grr, Lucy, the youngest princess, stared at him from inside the bag, growling. He extended his hand inside the bag. Why are you? A W. Gojo snatched his hand away as she bit him. He looked at Isdis in the back. Do something about your little sister. Lucy, Isdis gasped. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in the castle. Lucy closed the bag on herself. I'm not going back, Arad approached Gojo. The magic around her body is a bit weird. Wild magic. Her is so strong that it can muffle our detection, Gojo replied. Less of muffle and more of making her have the same presence as wild mana. Arad looked closer at the bag. She feels more like a magic item to me than a human, Gojo added. If I didn't know she's a human, I would assume she's a doll enchanted with magic. Isdis tried to open the bag, struggling against her little sister who held it close. Try this. Jack handed Isdis a glass potion. What's this? She asked. Demon skunk essence. 1 drop should be enough to force her out. Jack replied with a smile, lifting a thumb. I will make you drink it. Isdis screamed. Why do you even have this? It never harms to keep a stink bomb close by, Jack replied with a smile, and Liliana approached. You're right. She also had a bottle. Isdis growled. Those two sure do act the same. Gojo sighed. I will be back in a second. He disappeared. 2 minutes later, he came back with a signed document. What's that? Arad asked. Gojo showed them the paper. A signed contract from the king to teach his daughter Lucy swordsmanship and magic for a year. Isdis stared back at him. You're taking her with you. I mean, Gojo scratched his head. Look, in the blink of an eye, he pointed his finger at the bag, firing an ice spear, icicle lance crack. The spear shattered the moment it got closer to the bag. That was a regular cast. The wild magic around her makes spells unstable like hell. He sighed. She's probably best staying with me to learn magic and control her power rather than staying in the castle doing tea parties with humans. She's human, Isdis sighed, holding her hurting head. Thud. Lucy extended her hand out of the bag. My father has approved, she shouted, getting out of the bag. Well done. She pointed at Gojo. Pew, a small ice bead fired from Gojo's hand and smacked her in the forehead. Your wild magic interferes with spells. If I made something custom with denser mana, you won't dispel it before it hits you. Lucy held her forehead, almost crying. You dare hit the princess? Yes, of course I would. Princess Lucy Lior Ruris. Gojo stared at her. I would have you executed for being rude to a royal princess, Lucy growled, and Gojo nodded in approval. Please do try. He extended his hand into his stomach and pulled out a book, throwing it at Lucy. The Basics of Magic. I will have a quiz for you once we reach Alina. A quiz? She gasped. You're running for an hour. If you don't get it, you better start studying now. Gojo glared at her. I don't have time to deal with children who can't protect themselves. Lucy opened the book. This is too many words. It's simple when you understand it. Gojo replied, walking toward the carriage. Let's keep going. We will set off to the frozen north after we spend a few days in Alina. There are some spell tomes there I wanted to purchase first. Ho, Arad approached. Magic that you want? What kind it is? A spell that keeps mosquitoes away. There is also one that keeps drinks warm for an hour. Gojo replied with a smile. There is even one that changes cloth color. Mundane spells, Arad sighed. They are the most fun. I already knew how to blast things, so I'm looking more into convenient spells. Gojo got into his carriage. A few minutes after the carriages started moving again, Lucy growled and fell on Liliana's lap, her eyes spinning. I can't, she growled. Motion sickness. Liliana sighed. It gets worse if you try to read something. Gojo pulled a bag from his stomach. Here, keep reading and try to hold out. You can get a feeling similar to motion sickness when running out of mana. This is a good way to train for that. Really? She cried, her eyes spinning. It usually starts after you get below 50% of your capacity. Your training already started. Chapter 486. A bad omen. After the carriages reached the forest, they stopped, and Arad and Gojo walked out. Arad, mind to life both carriages, Gojo asked. Why? Look, Gojo's body shifted black, expanding rapidly to form a titanic dragon. Gojo was massive, standing over 100 meters tall and a whopping 200 in length. Even his wingspan covered half of the forest. Unlike Arad, Gojo's scales flickered with specks like black diamonds. Everyone looked out of the carriage, their knees shaking as they sensed the magic rushing out of him. Oh my, Zephyr giggled. What's that? It's subtle, but the magic rushing out of him is terrifying. Remind me of angry Nina, Lydia said with an exhausted face. Unless I'm in my humanoid form, it's almost impossible for me to completely shut off my aura. Gojo looked down. If I flew like this, I would scare the nearby monsters and they could run away, creating stampedes all over the place. That makes sense. Arad looked at Gojo. But can't you teleport us back? Your range is quite big, right? I can, Gojo replied, but it's more fun to travel, and I would like to give Lucy some time to learn her spells. That doesn't sound like a reason to me, Arad stared at him. There is something you aren't telling me about, glaring suspiciously. Gojo sighed. You're right, it has to do with Lucy. I don't know what teleporting her would do to her wild magic. Last time I tried, it exploded. He looked at the carriage. Dealing with unknown magic is annoying, and I didn't want to deal with her until after you're settled in Alina. Arad remembered himself trying to teleport Maimei. You can't teleport things you don't understand. It's a bit different in her case. I understand her wild magic, but it's so random that it would change and cause unexpected effects, Gojo replied. I would like to not take chances with her. Me too, Arad sighed. I can't have Izdis's little sister blown to mist upon teleporting. Fine, I will carry us to Alina. Gojo nodded, extending his claw to Arad and pulling a book from his stomach. Tales of the Great Wall. It's a magic book about barrier magic and tells some stories of how that magic was used. Teach you how to cast the spell. How to use it effectively in combat. Arad smiled, flipping the pages of the book. The best use would be locking your expansion into a barrier or using it to trap people and objects as a means to block attacks or separate things. Gojo extended his hand, like this. A large glass-like wall appeared, refracting light into a prismatic array of colors. I use it to block attacks most of the time, especially ones that I'm not sure of. Shall we go then? I will read it on our way back. Arad transformed into his draconic form, and Gojo shifted to his humanoid form in each arm. He lifted one of the carriages and flew to the sky. The horses began to freak out, even though Arad told them not to, so Gojo had to put them to sleep with magic. After flying for half a day, Arad spotted something on the ground. A carriage was being chased by bandits as they rushed across the open plains. "Evildoers, master. Shall we teach them a lesson?" shouted, staring down from the driver's seat. "No, leave them be. We have a trip ahead of us, and they should be able to handle themselves," Arad replied. "We can't do this. It's the strong's duty to protect the weak." He looked down, pulling his wooden sword. "Listen there, I don't want to get sidetracked." Arad glared down at him. "Come on, master, you're a dragon, aren't you?" "Soar down at them with the wrath of the heavens," screamed again. "Those aren't normal bandits. Look closely at them." Gojo sighed and everyone looked down. Crimson fungus latched on their flesh, making them look more like zombies than humans. Crimson rot, Vars once read a book that theorized that one of the demon lords, a woman to be exact, ruled over rot and fungus. One touch and you're infected. "Really?" Lydia stared down. "Then we can't ignore this. The infection might spread." Arad looked down. "Fine." He sighed. "Ayla, burn them to ash." Ayla smiled. "Of course." She pulled fire arrows from her quiver and aimed out of the window. "Zephyr, let's do this." Tens of burning arrows fell from the sky, burning hotter with Zephyr's wind, and sniped all the afflicted bandits. The traveler watched in awe as a divine punishment rained from the heavens. From that day, a rumor started spreading. The gods themselves saved the travelers, and Ayla's arrows were held in a shrine by the locals, worshipped as divine objects. After a few more hours of travel, Arad landed as it started getting dark. Ayla walked out of the carriage, stretching her arms. "Nothing beats the fresh air of the forest, does it?" She looked back. Lucy was half dead, barely walking out of the carriage. The other girls walked out, looking at the clear river. "I bet we could catch some nice fish there," Mira smiled. "Arad, can we fish and grill some for dinner?" "Do what you like," he replied, finding a stone to sit at. "We will gather firewood," Agnar's father, Simon said as he walked with Sebas to the forest. "I will fish." Jack pulled a steel wire from his pocket and headed to the river with Liliana and Mira. She seemed to have already found a long stick and intended on making a fishing pole with Jack's wire and some nails she had on hand. "Leave the rocks to me." Lydia started walking beside the river, looking for stones for the fire pit. Agnar's mother, Sophia, clapped her hands and called the girls. "Come closer, we will get ready to clean the fish when they catch it." "We have tools," Ray said with a passive face. "And knives," Ray added with a smile carrying several sharp blades. "Gug wants deer." Gug rushed out to the forest on her own, and Gojo waved his hand. "Be careful, and call me if you need help." Thud. Lucy sat beside the carriage, taking a breather from the long trip. "How are you feeling?" Gojo asked. "I'm fine, this is nothing," she replied with a grin. "Well then, come, casting training in next." Gojo waved his hand, pulling a small wand for her. "No, you demon teacher," she cried. "No complaints. Monsters won't wait for you to rest." He dragged her to the riverside to train. "Master." Agnar approached Arad with his wooden blade in hand. "What?" Arad looked back at him. "Want to fight?" "Sword training," Agnar replied. "That little girl Lucy is already back to grind. I can't fall short." "Fine." Arad stood, pulling a sword from his stomach. "We won't fight, but try mimicking my moves." Arad took a stance and swung his sword. "Yes." Agnar lifted his sword, stood beside Arad, and started swinging with him. "Swing down, kick, and the slice again," Arad said, performing the moves. "Remember, decide before the battle starts whether you want to kill or spare your opponent. You can't hesitate in the middle." "Hesitation opens the door for counters," Agnar replied with a firm voice, keeping with Arad's moves. "Remember, you're a human unlike me. You can't afford to take hits from his stomach." Arad pulled a small shield and gave it to Agnar. "Get used to it." Agnar took the shield and smiled. "Thanks for the gift. Attack, block, block, the attack." Arad moved if the opponent wasn't leaving any opening, Bash them with our shield to force an opening. The two kept training while Lucy cried in the back, doing her best to cast a firebolt. Chapter 487, Birth of a Hero. Chapter 487, Birth of a Hero. Splash, Jack shouted, "I got it," pulling a catfish out of the river with the pole Mira made. Liliana jumped into the water, catching the catfish and stabbing its head with a dagger. "Stay down, little Whiskers. You're our dinner," she smiled, waving her hand to Jack. "Pull it over, girls," Sophia called. "They caught a fish. Bring a bucket of water and get ready." She pulled a knife out of the carriage and got ready for work. On top of one of the trees around the camp, Zephyr sat surrounded by flowers. "They are working, she smiled, sipping on nectar from the blossoming roses, her eyes quickly shifting to the training ground. "Whoosh!" Agnar swung his wooden sword, sweat dripping through his face. He was near the limit of his body and his legs started giving up and shaking. Shall we rest?" He looked at Arad, who still didn't even look bothered by training for over an hour. Arad nodded. "This is the end of moves training." He turned toward Agnar, and the kid shivered. Whoosh! As if time slowed for him, Agnar saw his life flash ahead of him as Arad swung his sword at him. A terrifying whistle filled the air as his mind panicked. "Move! Move!" He screamed at his body, and his arms slowly lifted up, blocking Arad's swing with his wooden sword. Clap upon impact, a shockwave spread from his arms to his spine, sending him flying back, heavy. He gasped. The air knocked out of his chest as his back smacked into a tree. Upon blinking, Agnar saw Arad's body shifting, taking a stance with his sword pointed toward the back. "He's coming. Should I transform?" "No, he would kill me if I did that." Bam! Arad lunged forward so fast he seemed to disappear from Agnar's vision. Out of instinct, Agnar lifted his sword up, blocking Arad's attack once again. He might not have transformed, but the blood of Maharaja still floods through his veins. All his previous transformations have left him with sharper instincts and senses. He tried to stand and run, but his legs gave up. Too exhausted to move, his vision slowly turned black as he looked back, seeing the demon with red glowing eyes ready to lung at him. Focus, he's testing your will. Humans always stop when exhausted, but that's only a limitation to protect your body, not a real one. Maharaja's voice boomed in his head. Agnar tried to calm his breathing down and focus all of his remaining power into one counterattack. "I can do it," slang, with how fast Arad's moves were. His efforts were in vain and he was smacked back like a ball, rolling on the ground. "I can't." Agnar gasped, unable to move his legs or arms, feeling as if his heart would jump out of his chest at any moment as the scent of blood rose through his nose. Clack. Arad shifted his stance, lunging at Agnar's mother instead of him, swinging his blade down at her head. Time froze for Angar, his eyes dilating and shifting to be cat-like. The muscles on his limbs ate themselves to generate power and snapped into action, clap with one leap. Agnar covered the distance between him and Arad, hitting his sword as hard as possible. Agnar didn't have enough strength to deflect Arad's attack, and his wooden sword shattered upon impact. Arad stopped his attack before it hit Agnar's mother. Agnar fell on his knees, puking. Each of his limbs screamed in pain, but he was alert. "See, you still had some in you," Arad said. "You're going overboard." Sophia screamed. Alcott and Nina's words, not mine. Humans are weak, fragile, and easily give up. Most of them train until exhaustion. That's fine for most, and sure is enough for them to gain muscles and strength to carry out daily tasks. Arad sucked his sword back to his stomach. But that isn't enough for adventurers dancing with death. I might be a bad example by being a dragon, but that's a fact. "That doesn't make sense," Sophia cried. "Humans doesn't make sense," Arad replied. "Those are Alcott's words. It doesn't make sense that my body limits my strength to protect itself when I need that strength to run away from the monster trying to eat me alive." Sophia froze as Arad glared at her. Nina's words. "If you want to be special, how about not stopping when normal people would? My head was once cut off, but my body kept fighting. I didn't lose consciousness, because if I did, I would have died. That is why people fear me. They can't see me dying by regular means even though I'm a human." Clack, Angar stood supporting himself with his broken sword. "That's annoying," he growled. Arad nodded. "You can rest. When breaking your limits like this becomes second nature, you will notice that your limits will shift back to something else. Then break that as well, and keep pushing the limits to grow stronger than other people in ways they can't even try to achieve." Arad pointed his hand toward the fireplace, pulling a whole butchered bison from his stomach. "Only call Maharaja as a trump card. Now go eat and rest." He walked back to his training. "Yes, master." Agnar shouted with a smile almost falling on his face. Gojo stared at Arad and Agnar's fight, and then looked at Lucy with a sad face. "Come on, I've been waiting for an hour," he sighed. "I can't cast it," Lucy cried. "Maybe I should try killing you like Arad did with that brat?" He glared at her. "No, I will cast it." She extended her hands, focusing so hard that veins bulged on her forehead, but no spell came out. "That's enough, enough." Gojo clapped his hand. "You're a spellcaster, and your limits lie when you run out of mana, not in casting spells. You're akin to a swordsman who can't swing a blade. We have to fix that first." "What should I do?" she asked. "Cast and repeat until you succeed. Then we can start the real training to shorten your cast time and increase your speed and mana capacity." Gojo looked back. "Stop when the food is ready, eat, sleep, and keep studying tomorrow in the carriage." Chapter 488, Back to Alina. Crackle. Arad stood beside the flames, staring at it as the girls lined the fish and bison meat on sticks. "We need something to sit on," he mumbled. "Some stones would do," Mira replied. "Or you can pull a table and some chairs from your stomach. I would usually do that, but it doesn't seem to fit the place." He walked toward the back, shifting to his draconic form. "What are you doing?" Aella called him. Arad turned his head toward them. "Getting chairs ready?" He approached the trees, finding a nice straight one. He grabbed the tree and pulled it from the roots with ease. One swipe with his palm over the trunk, and he removed all branches and bark. He then munched the roots off with one bite. In less than half a minute, he turned the large tree into one long trunk and sat it beside the flames. He then looked at Mira with a smile. "I'm a good carpenter." She looked at the tree trunk. It's impressive that Arad did it so quickly, but she wouldn't call that good skills. He just cleaned a tree. "A decent carpenter," she replied. Arad turned back to the forest and cleaned 4 more trees, but then Eris noticed something on his back. "Arad, be careful. Yuaku is on your back." Eris shouted. Arad turned his head, seeing the girl asleep between his wings, and her body seemed stuck to his. "Yuaku, are you awake?" he asked. She opened one eye, looking at him before going back to sleep. He was her source. Probably it made sense for her to stay around him. "I'm going to shift back. Get down," he asked. "Oh, Wawa," she grunted, rolling on his back down to his tail, and then to the ground. Arad shifted back to his humanoid form and lifted her. "At least sleep in the carriage." "You're her source," Zephyr replied. "She feels more at ease with you." Arad looked up at Zephyr as he took Yuaku to the carriage to sleep. "Come here. It's time to eat," he added. "Wait, you spirits like elves can't eat meat, right?" "Not necessarily," Zephyr replied. "We feed on mana. Food like meat and plants doesn't provide us with any nutrients. We only eat since it's delicious or fun. So you can eat meat." He looked at Zephyr and then turned toward Aella, who was preparing a large bowl of salad, signage, and some weird plants. "Iris, you're a half-elf. How does meat taste to you?" he asked. "Dragon blood is denser than elvish blood. I follow an omnivorous diet like you," she replied. "Elves were herbivorous. They couldn't digest meat, and dragons ate everything. Around the campfire, everyone started eating. Arad pulled the bison's whole leg and started munching on it, his teeth cutting directly through the thigh bones. Bone marrow, bone marrow." Zephyr sucked on the bones, sipping every drop of the marrows inside like a butterfly on flowers. Aella stared at her, disgusted. Tough, Lucy cried, barely able to bite the bison's hard flesh. Gojo extended his hand, snatching the piece of meat from her hand and running his void through it, ripping the meat inside out and shredding it. "Thank you," she said with a smile, and he sighed. "It's another level of failure when you can't even eat." He ate the ribs whole, crunching them like biscuits. "The fish is softer," Jack said in the back, eating from a bow of shredded meat. Liliana filled a bow for Lucy and handed it to her. "This should be softer. Crack." They heard a bone crack from someone beside Arad and Gojo. They looked, and it was Agnar. "Agnar, your teeth." His mother cried, but he waved his hand, opening his mouth to reveal a fanged maw. Warlocks usually have a covered demonic eye, bandaged arms to hide the devil scales, or a tail. It's a side effect of the contract. "But I only got a stronger jaw and muscles," he replied, explaining why he had all that explosive power as a kid. Gojo smiled. "Maharaja is supposed to be a jaguar-like beast. She's bigger than mountains and crackling with golden lightning. It makes sense you got a bit of her power without even transforming." Lydia stared at Izdis, seeing her cut the meat with a knife and a fork. "Hoy, can't you eat without those?" "It's make it easier to cut the meat into biteable pieces." "It's tough," Izdis replied. "Fancy nobles," Lydia sighed, munching on the meat. "What's fun is when eating like that? It's better to get a good bite than a small one?" With a smile on his face, Arad looked at the full moon. "It's a calm night, isn't it?" "Boo! Boo!" An owl flew from the trees, soaring through the sky. From the owl's eyes, he could see the whole forest and make sure no monsters were close. After 3 days of travel, they reached Alina thanks to Arad's absurd speed. He landed at the mountain foot and shifted back to his humanoid form. Sebas, Angar, and his parents walked out of the carriages and sat on the driver's seat as the horses woke up. "Is there a need for Master to hide his presence?" Agnar asked. "It's troublesome," Arad replied. "I doubt they can harm you." Agnar scratched his head, and his father approached. "I see. You're still young, after all." "What?" Agnar turned back to his father. "He's a powerful hero. The problem isn't his power, it's safety and convenience." Simon added, patting his son's head, "He doesn't want people begging on his door for help each day and doesn't want to endanger his family by exposing them to villains." "A hero should help people in need," Agnar replied. "But not all people are in need. Humans seek convenience. They would rather pay a dragon gold to kill a monster than form a party and take care of it themselves." Simon looked at Arad. "We have a dragon. Why not just pay him to protect the city from monsters? We then won't need adventurers." Simon looked at Arad. "That's a pain to deal with, isn't it? It will prevent you from dealing with what matters most." "I never thought of it like that," Arad replied. "But you must be right. Did no one approach you for shelter or protection?" Simon asked. "No one." As Arad said those words, he couldn't get Merida's image to stop flashing in his head. He stopped. "She didn't know I was a dragon that night. So why?" He turned back. "I got a bad feeling about this." Chapter 489, Rot in Blood. A red rose grew and extended up, forming a pair of lips. "Master, it's been a while," Losi said with a giggle. "I see you brought a monster with you." Calling her a monster, Izdis stared at Losi. "Aren't you a bit rude to her?" "You might be right, but you're wrong," Losi replied. Zephyr nodded. "Unlike you, we're all monsters, no matter how human we look." "She then flew around Yuwaku. You're only alive around her since me and Arad are keeping her in check. You can't even see her properly, can you?" "No, I can't. I barely sense Yuwaku's magic." Izdis looked at the empty air in front of her, sensing a blob of magic that seemed twisted, mixed with Zephyr and Arad's mana. Lotzi turned to Arad. "Since she's like this, I suspect you want to give her a dryad's body." Zephyr flew to Arad's shoulder and nodded. "Make it close to a human," she smiled. "We want everyone to be able to see her and not well die." "Can't she just control it?" Agnar asked. "If it's magic, I'm sure she can figure a way to not kill or blind people." Zephyr shook her head. "That's impossible. It isn't magic." She flew in front of Agnar. Imagine walking alone in a ghastly forest, exhausted and drained. Then you come along a vast flower field with a great blossoming tree in the middle, a mythical obsidian dragon sleeping beneath it with fairies dancing under the sunlight like specks of golden light. She smiled. Yuwaku represents that mystical scene. People getting blind or stunned isn't because of magic. It's because their brains can't handle that image in the form of a single woman. She can't do anything about them being too green for her. The Dryad's body would be like a veil, sealing her beauty to protect others. Currently, Arad and Gojo can handle her because of their powerful draconic brain. Zephyr is a great spirit, and Eris is a half-dragon with a strong head. I'm taking her with me, Losi said with a smile, wrapping leaves around Yuwaku. I will be out of a few hours to make her body. Please be careful. Worry not, Arad smiled. I have a lot of helpers this time. Flocks of crows, rats, birds, and bugs rushed across the forest, spreading his spies everywhere. Arad crossed his eyes, worried. This is weird. Are those some new monsters? He could see an adventurer dragged into the church for healing, his left arm and leg rotting with red fungus. But Losi had already left. If she didn't inform him, it wasn't his problem. At least for now. He turned toward the carriages. Go rest in my house. I'm heading to the guild. Master, I'm going with you, Agnar said with a stern face. You're too young for the guild, Arad replied. But he quickly sighed, seeing the dead serious stare on the kid's face. Who am I to object? He's 5 times older than me. Fine, but stay close. It shouldn't be dangerous, I think. Agnar is a fiery kid. He might end up ticking Nina off and have her break his legs, like what happened with Abel. Upon approaching the gate, the guards panicked as they saw Arad. Open the gate! One of them screamed. Baron Arad is back, another cried. You're famous here as well. Agnar stared at Arad. I'm not. I only lived for a few months. Arad replied as the gate opened, and they walked inside. It's been a while, Arad. Rowan approached with a smile. Arad smiled. Father Rowan, how's Nigel doing? He's doing well out on a quest right now. Rowan looked at Agnar. Not as good as you. Did you already have a kid in a few months? I'm not the father, Arad replied. I'm his student. I currently train swordsmanship under him, Agnar replied. Arad looked at him. You aren't going to yell, I'm the blade of the capital or something like that. I'm not, Agnar gasped. We aren't in the capital? Arad laughed, patting Agnar's head. He's a great swordsman, helped protect the capital against an undead invasion. If you picked him up, Rowan smiled. I'm sure he'll grow as fast as you did. After the brief conversation, Arad and Agnar headed directly to the guild. The moment Arad opened the door, all adventurers stared at him. He could hear the woman in the back cry, He has a kid? Arad, Alcott called him from the guild's tavern, waving his hand with a mug of beer. Beside him, a man in a strange outfit with a pink-haired little girl sitting on his shoulders. That's Arad approached. The man who stopped the dragon's army, Caden. Who's the kid? Alcott asked. A talent from the capital, Arad replied, looking at Agnar. Wanted to grow stronger, so he stuck by my side. Angar bowed slightly. Nice to meet you. Alcott stared closely at Agnar. I see traces of determination on you with tattered hands and sharp eyes. You're definitely a rough gem. Clack. Caden stared at Agnar with one eye, and it made him freeze in place, terrified. Rakshasa's blood you're contracted with that big cat, Caden said, drinking his beer. You have potential. Arad patted Agnar's head. You got the approval of the 2 best swordsmen I know. One day you'll be a hero. Arad, Nina waved her hand from the counter. Are you ignoring me? I'm coming, he replied, and then looked back at Caden. Isn't he the one who cut her head off in the past? From what she said before, he was protecting his orphanage from her rage. There is no reason for bad blood between them, Mom explained, and Arad headed to Nina. It's been a while, he smiled, and she nodded. We missed you. And a lot happened. There was this thing, Arad said. I saw an adventurer with a strange rotting wound at the church. Do you know what was that? You saw that? Nina gasped. Apparently, it's a new type of monster that causes fungus to grow in blood. It infects the host through wounds and sucks the life out of them. We got to call it crimson rot. Zugdmoy. Caden said in the back, and everyone stared at him. The demon queen of rot and decay, the lady of fungi. Someone must have summoned one of her minions to the world. He looked back at them. Don't breathe, don't open your eyes or ears, don't get hit, and use fire. Defeating them should be easy. Callie, the pink-haired girl with Caden, sighed. I should have cleaned the backyard. Didn't expect such fungus to grow. Some adventurers laughed. Who's Zugdmoy, old man? Aren't you drunk? Only Arad, Alcott, and Nina in the guild knew that Caden was a problem. Everyone else thought he was only a drunkard. Clack! The guild's door burst open, Merlin panting as she rushed inside. I've found it. She lifted an ancient, crumbling book. That rot. It's a trait of an ancient demon called Zugdmoy. We must be against one of her spawns. But we know nothing of their weakness. The whole guild stared at Caden. You serious? I'm not repeating myself. He went back to drinking, Callie mocking the adventurers with a weird face. Chapter 490, The Blade. Chapter 490, The Blade, panting. Merlin's eyes shifted to the side, seeing Arad standing in the tavern with Alcott. Arad, you're back, she cried. Nina walked out of her desk. What did you find? Ah! She looked at Caden. What did you say? Merlin looked at Caden after realizing he must have said something important before she arrived. Arad was the one to reply. It works like an infection. We can't fight with open eyes or ears. We can't breathe it, and we need to use fire to burn them. Caden smiled. So you were listening. Arad giggled. You stopped a dragon army, of course I would listen. Master, should we deal with them? Agnar asked, and Arad stared at him. You won't? He can't fight blindfolded or without breathing. He also had no fire attacks, making him useless. Rely on mana sense to fight. That would be hard while flinging fire spells. Merlin scratched her chin, but it's doable. With a smile, Arad looked at the guild receptionists. Register him for me. He pushed Agnar forward. Let him train here for a while as we deal with this. Alcott tapped Agnar's shoulder. You can't start at the top. Get stronger so next time you will fight with us. Arad looked at Alcott. Can you fight? I don't remember you having fire attacks, and how are your legs? Alcott giggled. I've recovered from the injuries, and thanks to some medications, my aliment seems stable. He smiled, flexing his right arm. Few fungi aren't going to harm me. Before that, Nina stared at them. Arad? There are a few things we need to talk about. Arad went with Nina to the private room while Agnar went to register at the desk. Nina sat on the couch, pondering how she should explain what happened. You know, I'm not good with words, so this might seem confusing, she said. I'm sure it's not that bad, Arad smiled. Well, Merida's father. She looked away. He was killed by a bunch of noble servants from a nearby city. Woats. At that moment, everyone in the guild could feel it. A surge of heavy magic, a terrifying presence in the guild. What's this? One of the adventurers cried, and Agnar smiled in the back. Master is angry. Nina gulped down, that look in Arad's eyes. The moment he gets a name or a location, he's going to burn it down. Who and where, he growled. They are already dead. We took care of it. Nina made sure to explain the results first before giving Arad any lead to start killing. To be exact, the two who caused that ended up summoning a devil and a demon, resulting in their death. Cain was able to confirm that. She looked at Arad. Don't go around killing anyone. Arad sighed. You sure about that? He remembered when Cain and his maid glared back at them from Gojo's spell. He's stronger than he looks. Those two might not have been killed by their summon, but by him. Where is Merida? How is she doing? Arad asked. She went to her grandparents' house on the western side of the city to rest. But I haven't seen her in a while, Nina replied, relieved that Arad wasn't thinking about blowing anything up. Arad stood. Is that all? I should pay her a visit. Wait, Nina stood. She asked to be left alone for a while. Did she? Arad stared back at Nina, thinking, I'm visiting her anyway. It doesn't sit well with me not to say anything. He walked out of the room, seeing Agnar heading to take a physical test. Nina approached the receptionist. I can sense he's a warlock from the magic. Why a fighter test? He said his primary weapon is the sword, and that he barely uses his warlock powers. The receptionist replied, Don't worry. He's against an F-rank newbie, the rank he would get if his performance was decent. F-rank are the newbie adventurers who just joined. All the guild asks from Agnar is to do well against someone of the rank he would get. Winning isn't necessary, only showing competence. Alcott snorted in the back. That's unfair. For real, even Caden scoffed at it. Come on, he's a kid. How are we going to make it easier? The receptionist replied, I don't think that's what they mean. Nina stared at her, scratching her cheek. It isn't fair for the F-rank, Arad added. Outside in the training ground, Agnar and the F-rank Gabin faced each other. Gabin pulled his longsword and dagger, taking a stance. Don't worry, kid. Clap. Before Gabin could finish speaking, Agnar blitzed him with a strike to the face, knocking him down, then kicking his head for good measure. Everyone fell silent. That isn't fair. The fight didn't start yet. The other adventurers complained. See? Unfair. Alcott sighed, staring at the guild receptionist. That kid might lack skills, speed, and power, but he has seen death. He fought for his life, for other lives. His only care is eliminating the threat. Caden smiled. Of course, the F-rank would lose. He's only been seeking to finish quests and get paid. Nina giggled. He didn't waste time speaking. Instead, he saw it as a weakness in his opponent and struck immediately. He even kicked him to make sure he won't stand again. Arad looked at Alcott. I'm going to visit Merida. Can you take care of Agnar? So, Nina told you. Alcott nodded. Don't worry, I will play with him a bit till you come back. He smiled. Arad walked out of the guild and headed to the western side of the city, seeking Merida's grandparents' house. Knock. Knock after knocking. An old lady opened the door and looked at Arad. A fine young man. She smiled. Grandma, is Merida here? He asked. Merida, you came looking for her, she replied. Yes, is she inside? No, she left a week ago saying that someone needs to take care of the shop. The old lady replied, Even so, my son had only died recently, my condolences. I came looking for her for that reason. I was out on a quest and had just returned to the city. He bowed gently. Don't worry about me. You should find her at their house, Merida's grandma replied. She needs you more than me. She looked back at her husband rocking on his chair. Thank you, Arad headed to Merida's house, but he found it closed. The shop is empty. He stood outside for a second, pondering it. Did she go out? He immediately lifted his hand, extending his senses across the whole area. Find Merida. Losi and all the animals in the city panicked, scrambling to find her. Nothing. She isn't anywhere in a 4-kilometer radius. Losi. When was the last time you saw Merida? Arad called. 1 week ago when she left her grandma's house at the mountaintop of Bubosh near Riverside City. The door of the Flash Sword School burst open, scaring all the students inside. A woman stood at the door in a black coat. Her face slashed across her left eye, leaving that blinded. Her right palm had been crushed, only gripping her rushed sword thanks to the countless bandages tying it to her wrist. The countless scars and wounds on her body had tints of crimson fungi in them as her only functioning eyes stared forward, burning with flames. My blade? Where is it? She growled. The sword in her hand had rusted and started to crumble. She needed a better one. You dare come back? One of the swordmasters growled, pulling his sword, clang. In the blink of an eye, Merida sliced his head in half, walking toward the extremely long sword displayed in the back of the dojo. Chapter 491, The Fall of Kuchilla. Chapter 491, The Fall of Kuchilla. Splat. Blood splashed on the ground as Merida walked past her old master's corpse. How dare you? one of them growled, pulling his sword, but he froze the moment she glared at him, those dead, cold eyes, devoid of any signs of compassion or camaraderie. To Merida, they were nothing more than dust in her path. She turned, ignoring them, and approaching the sword. She slowly started unwrapping her sword from her crushed hand, blood spilling on the ground, but she didn't even flinch. All the students glared at her back, knowing full well the reason for her rage, but none of them could dare challenge her, not after she dropped their master. 3 centuries ago, their school was built to fight off the Zugdmoy infection of the lands, as conventional methods of fire started to wane when the creatures started picking weapons and armor. The Dance of Blades, a sword style focusing on slashes with extra-long swords made specially to combat the long tendrils of the infected fungi of the crimson rot. Merida lifted the sword, looking at its long, golden engraved blade of silver steel. Using the bloodied bandages, she tied the sword to her right hand, making sure it never fell. Clack, clack. The doors of the training room got kicked open once again, and tens of armored fighters glared inside. Merida, one of them walked forward growling as he pointed his blade at her after seeing Father's corpse on the ground. Merida turned her head, giving an emotionless glare. Amarin? Jeremy is dead, you know. Shut up, he screamed. I looked into it. You're the ones who sent Jeremy to that dungeon. She turned, her blade scratching the ground. Your men were the ones who came and killed Father, all to force me to return here. You and that fool lord summoned a demon and can't contain it? Now you want me to slay it for you? I said. Shut up, Amarin shouted. You and your mothers were the only ones to master the art, yet you chose to escape, live a comfortable life in Alina, and ignore everything here. Mother said it, didn't she? Merida lifted the sword, piercing a hole in the ceiling. It's not our concern to bear the burden of what your family summoned. Whine as you like. It's your duty, and you're here. Amarin smiled. It's your fate, whether you like it or not. All of the marriage proposals she got were from this man, Amarin Kuchilla. They wanted her to marry him and spend the rest of her life fighting off Zugdmoy's spawns and teach the Dance of Blades to her children and the students in the dojo. Clang! She pointed her sword forward, aiming at him. You killed all of my family, left me alone. She smiled. Now that I'm free, I guess I could put an end to this. Finally ready to submit, Amarin smiled. Merida smiled. This is the end. Bam! She lunged forward, swinging her sword at him. Amarin pulled his sword, blocking her attack. Have you lost your mind? He growled. Crack. Deflecting her sword aside, he jumped back and tried to swing at her neck. With ease, she deflected the attack and lunged at him, kicking him out of the dojo. This bitch, she snapped. He fell on the ground and immediately rolled to the side, dodging a stab from Merida. She intends on killing us with the demons. He stood, inspecting her body, several slashes, broken ribs, and a crushed right hand. All infected with the crimson rot, she must have slayed the devils at the mountain base. But how is she still moving? He took a stance. You won't last long. I can have our healers heal you, only if you submit. Stop whining. She took the same stance. You already killed everything that held me down. I don't care if I die, as long as I'm taking everything down with me. Crack. The other students lunged from the dojo, swinging their swords at her. For master! Thud. Merida took a step forward, swinging her sword above her head and slicing 5 of them into chunks. Kill her, Amarin screamed, and one of his servants touched the ground. Mold earth, slashing mounds, a blade similar to a sawtooth made of stones, the size of a human, emerged from the ground, rushing toward Merida at high speed. With a smile on her face, Merida supported the long sword with her left hand and swung horizontally, cutting the spell in half and lunging at Amarin with a swing. He lifted his blade to block, but it wasn't enough. Clang. When Merida's sword impacted his, the sheer strength behind it sent him blasting through the fences. Amarin growled, his eyes staring at Merida. You're the monster, Bam. She disappeared from his vision, and then clang. He could feel her sword impacting his side, cutting through his armor and into his guts. Blig. He coughed blood as his body flew out of the peak's edge, falling from the mountain as he stared up, seeing Merida standing there, staring at him. Alone, you were supposed to come back to me, not against me. The Cuchilla family made a deal with one of Zugmoy's demons, reaping his spores and mushrooms to sell as curses and bases for drugs throughout the kingdom. But contracts with demons always come with a cost, and there was a door to the abyss where waves of spores started spreading into the mortal world, slowly infecting the mountains. The Cuchilla family couldn't stand the situation of being exposed to the kingdom, so they made a deal with Riverside's ruling family to keep it a secret in exchange for money. They then build a dojo on the mountain to train warriors to fight the infected and keep the situation under control. For generations, they managed to keep the situation under control, but everything started falling apart when Merida's mother found out they were still dealing with the demon. She and the other warriors weren't fighting to defeat the demon, but only to keep the infection from spreading. She ran away with her daughter, remarrying a noble in Alina and hiding for years. Everything worked out until one day she fell sick, and the Cuchilla took the chance to intimidate her to come back, using her daughter and husband as a weakness. She returned, but instead of letting her fight the demons like before, she was killed immediately for running away. But the Cuchilla's dojo never produced a master of the dance of blades after her. All the students, not one of them could reach 3/4 of her strength. They then heard of Merida winning the competition of Whitehold. The traitor has taught the dance of blades to her daughter, and the little girl seems like a genius. Their attempts to bring her backfired, and they created a monster, an avenging ghost seeking their end. Chapter 492, Sparks in the Guild. Arad stood before Merida's house, staring down. "I just came back," he growled, crackles of void sparking from his skin. Everyone in the street stopped moving, staring at the faint black smoke rising from his body. "How long since she left?" He grunted, and everyone in the city started feeling their chests tighten from the increased mana pressure in the air. Even though it was noon, the people started losing their sight in the darkness and mist. Arad's domain, which was restricted to the forest, slowly seeped into the city, like how a red dragon's lair burst into flame or lava. The city was about to burst into void and mist. All mages in the city could feel it. A great monster was in the city, one strong enough to level it down, and it wasn't happy. Lights Novale come flap. The first one to land beside Arad was Merlin. "Arad, I knew it was you. What happened?" She approached, weary of any sudden movements. Arad turned toward her with a passive face. "Merida isn't here." He, she gasped. "What do you mean she isn't here?" "She was at her grandparents' house. She left a week ago. She isn't anywhere in a 4-kilometer radius." The weight on the city disappeared as he walked toward Merlin. "We're going to find her." Crack. Arad pushed the guild's door open, walking directly toward Nina's desk as everyone stared at him. The competent adventurers already knew that heavy pulse of mana came from him. "Yo, Arad, how are you doing?" A hand touched his shoulder and he glared aside. "You don't look well," Nigel said with a smile. "Calm down, would you?" Arad took a deep breath and sighed. "You're right, it keeps boiling in my head. Whatever it was, you aren't solving any problem by being angry." Nigel tapped Arad's shoulder. "What's the problem? How big is it? Merida disappeared a week ago." "I'm angry nobody noticed until I came here." Arad growled, staring at the guild. He kept walking toward Nina. "Merida isn't in my domain. I can't find her by calling on animals or beasts." "I need information," he thought, standing in front of Nina. "I suspect she went after the one who killed her father. Who is it? Which city?" He growled, a purple flame burning in his eyes. "I won't say. You're going to destroy that city," she replied, knowing how a dragon's rage could end. He would fly there, crash in the middle of the city, and start blasting everyone to oblivion. "What I do with them is none of your business," Arad replied. "If it was, Merida won't have gone out alone." Crack! The ground beneath Nina's feet shattered, and everyone in the guild ran away. Only Alcott and Merlin remained. Caden already left a while ago. My job is to protect adventurers from dangerous quests and protect the people from the adventurers. You now fall into the latter." She walked from her desk and approached Arad. "You didn't stop Merida. You already failed the first one," he replied. "She left on her own and didn't consult the guild. If I knew, I would have stopped her." Nina stared at his face. "Now that I know innocent people could die, I can't allow you to kill them. A dragon and a barbarian, the two types of people with the worst anger issues, are facing each other in an argument. It could only end one way. Before the two could start swinging at each other, Alcott called them. "Stop. No need for bloodshed," he stood. "We better start working on retrieving her, don't we?" He walked between them, with a grin on his face. "My health has been getting better thanks to Kane's disgusting herbal mix. If you're gonna fight, at least let me join in." Agnar, who was watching from behind the guild's door with a scared face, gasped. "Those three are monsters. I thought you were about to break the fight." Merlin jumped in, pushing Arad and Nina away from each other. "Stop. We don't have time to waste, do we?" "You're right," Arad sighed. Nina took a deep breath, nodding. "Right." She walked toward her desk and took a seat. "A new quest, search and rescue of Merida." "I'm heading off now." Arad turned to leave and search. "What town?" "You have to wait for us." Alcott stared at him. "Don't rush off like that, old man." Merlin sighed. "Kane was lucky, wasn't he?" She looked at Arad. "What's the common ground between you two wanting to rush out alone? We don't have time to waste. It's been a week already." Arad stared at them. When Kane left, Alcott looked at Arad. The ones he faced summoned an archdevil and a demon lord. "If we're to face such a thing and have hope of saving Merida, we need to be prepared. Archdevil, demon lord, spindle, and demogorgon. I confirmed it was their magic." Merlin looked at Arad. "I also have a feeling the Crimson Rot has something to do with this. I bet Zugmoy won't be out of the conflict either. We could end up facing two demon lords and an archdevil." Arad scratched his head. "I don't know how strong they are, but from the names, they aren't something I can just smash. Demogorgon is the biggest threat. I don't know if me and Nina combined could defeat him. Our odds get even worse if he pulls us to the abyss." He looked back. Brother Zon Gojo appeared out of nowhere. "You called me, Demogorgon, Zugmoy, and Spindle. Can you defeat them?" Arad asked. "I don't know anything about Spindle. I heard of Zugmoy from Vars, but I do not know how strong she is. For Demogorgon, I can't defeat that thing. I'm not even close." Gojo scratched his head. "He's a demon lord for a reason. Those creatures are beyond our understanding. You heard it from him. We can't act rashly," Alcott added. "But," Gojo looked at Arad with a smile. "They won't follow mortal words even if they could die. They are proud and arrogant." He giggled. "Even if someone summoned them, they would only kill the summoner and leave. You have to worry about their servants who aren't as strong." Kane said they killed the summoners. Nina looked at Merlin. "Get everything ready. I will be here protecting everyone and keeping an eye out. Call me if you needed my help. Gojo disappeared again. Chapter 493, A Demonic Infection. Chapter 493, A Demonic Infection. Run." A man shouted, swinging his sword to block a lightning-fast mushroom flying at his face. The mushroom bullet deflected toward a tree, shattering several branches before flying to the sky. The swordsman could feel his arms tingle from the impact, but he stood still. Tens of red, prolonged mushroom tentacles flew from the trees like whips, each shattering trees as they passed. "It's a tentacle demon. Bring fire," he shouted, deflecting each of the tentacles as the others behind him pointed their swords forward. Fire wave, their blades turned bright red, releasing a burst of flame and setting the bushes ablaze. A sharp, ear-piercing cry burst from the woods, and a zombie-like man infested with mushrooms rushed out, burning as tentacles came out of his body. The swordsman grunted, closing his eyes with a pained expression. "So you have fallen, Aaron?" He lunged forward, cutting the demon's head. "May you rest in peace." Thud, as the corpse fell on the ground, burning. The other swordsman casters approached to pray, Lights Nouvelle on Commander de Tori. It was Brother Aaron, after all. May he rest in peace. Pew, as they stood, a small stud fired from the corpse, piercing DeTore's shoulder. Shit. The crimson rot instantly spread from the wound up to his neck, trying to reach his brain. Commander DeTore cursed, reversing the grip of his blade. "Burn me!" he shouted, cutting his own head at the last moment as the fungi spread to his brain. His face twisted, and mushrooms sprouted out of his eyes and ears, tentacles trying to connect his head back to the body. "Commander!" one of the swordsmen screamed, jumping back as the others pointed their blades forward. Fire wave. The fire flickered from their blades, but quickly faded, as they couldn't burn their commander. Clap. A tentacle burst from the commander's chest, rushing at them with a blinding speed. Swash. From the shadows of the forest, Merida lunged in, swinging her extra-long sword, cutting the tentacle from the tip to the base in one move. Like a flash, 16 slashes eviscerated the commander's body, exposing the hard core of the demons. Merida turned, unleashing another 16 slashes at the core, cutting it to pieces before it could decide whether to explode into spore or infect one of the swordsmen. One of the swordsmen stared at Merida in awe, noticing the crimson rot covering her body. "She's infected but sane?" "No, she isn't." He growled, "She's far too gone." Crack. 4 infected humans emerged from the forest, sending their tentacles at Merida. Bam. Merida disappeared from the swordsman's view, only leaving a small puff of dust where she stood. Crack. She landed feet first on a tree trunk behind one of the infected, cutting him apart before he could even realize it. The tentacles missed as she wasn't in her original place, and the infected realized she was far faster than them. Pooh! A core flew from the corpse that Merida cut, aiming at her head, more specifically the brain. Crack. Merida bites the core, crushing it in her jaw and spitting the spores out. She was already infected, and more spores couldn't enter her body. In the blink of an eye, she jumped at the other infected, shattering the trees she stood on. You can't infect an already infected person, and the crimson rot fungi seemed to be enchanting her body as it does with the infected. Yet she slaughters them. One of the swordsmen gulped, seeing Merida glide through the air with her sword, cutting the tentacles and turning the infected into diced meat. The crimson rot tried to take over Merida's mind when she was first infected, but it failed. A mix of her iron will, rage, and honed body managed to reach an equilibrium where no one was on the lead. A symbiotic relationship was born. The fungi eat away at her mana and body, and in exchange fuel her body with power and euphoria to achieve her single goal. Merida was turned into a rampaging, single-minded monster, seeking to destroy the Zugmoy spawn, its infected, and the Cuchilla family, all until death takes her already crumbling body. The swordsman watched as Merida lunged into the forest, chasing the infected. "Let's retreat, we can't stop her." "What was that?" one of them cried. "A demon," the swordsman replied. "We need to go." They rushed back, racing across the trees until they got out of the forest, stopping in their tracks in horror. Red sparks rose to the sky in the black clouds. Ash fell like snow as they gasped. "Impossible." One of them mumbled, falling on his knees. "Damn it," another growled. "It's all falling apart." He stared at the mountain, their dojo engulfed in crimson flames, a red flare dancing on the mountain peak. He turned toward the forest, crying, "Monster! Kill them all!" He screamed his lungs out. But then a tentacle pierced his chest, and tens of infected started walking out of the forest. Bam! He lunged between them as his body quickly turned into an infected. "I won't die alone!" His sword turned bright red, exploding in a crimson blast. Currently, for almost 2 decades, there was no dance of Blade's master to train the swordsmen or support their frontliners against the infection. The Cuchilla family's grip on the demonic infection that they profited from grew looser by the day, and now it had imploded upon them. The demons spread across the land, terrorizing the surrounding area and quickly growing in power. The only thing people could do was to pray for the success of a single infected woman who rushed into the heart of the forest, the last known dance of Blade's master. Supporting her wasn't an option, as that would mean going through hordes of infected demons. each one of them capable of taking a seasoned fighter down with ease. Deep in the pits of the abyss, Demogorgon puked blood, dragging his half-torso on the ground. I finally resurrected to think it would end any other way was foolish. His two baboon heads giggled. I need to think of another way to get out. His body started shrinking. Chapter 494. The strongest party. The rescue party formed outside the guild, and Arad didn't want to exhaust his wives right after arriving, the members he hadn't fought much with before, but due to the composition, Arad was reduced to a mere support. Light's Novel Calm Frontline Charger, Nina Fangborn, the Berserker Frontline Fighter, Alcott Demorian, the Dragon Slayer, Backline Magic Buffer, Merlin, the Archmage of Alina, Backline Magic Blaster, Ginger, Scarlet, Voivovode, the Impaler Queen, Arad Orion, General Support and Porter. We lack a healer. Arad looked around, any priest or a paladin willing to come. All adventurers looked away. Who could keep up with those monsters? Don't bother. Nina tapped Arad's shoulder. They can't heal us anyway. There is no S-rank healer in this city. Alcott nodded. I only remember hearing of that paladin Lydia getting promoted rapidly, but everyone else pales in comparison. Arad looked back. I'm sure she would come with us if I asked, but she would charge forward instead of healing us. If we only need fire to kill the demons, then there is no need for holy magic. Merlin looked at Arad. Did you master fire magic? Arad looked away. Not really, but I can use it. Merlin giggled. I'm sure you can use it well. I know how crazy your magic can get. She tapped his back. Forget about the mundane fire. Did you learn any interesting magic, considering the one inside you? Ginger stared at Arad with a grin. She could feel Doma inside him stirring. She's been teaching me a certain spell, or should I say, I let her tinker with a part of my body. Arad giggled. I wonder what it could be. Ginger smiled. Nothing special. Arad walked forward. Let's go. We can't waste any time. We won't take that guy with us, Alcott asked. You mean Gojo? Nina replied, then stared at Arad. He was here earlier. It's a long story, but he's remaining here to guard the city, Arad replied as they stood before the carriage. I don't know if brother would mind them knowing he's a void dragon. For now, it's just that I know him. If you trust him, Alcott replied, jumping into the driver's seat. It's been a while since we went on a quest together, was it? For real, Merlin sighed. Last time Nina kicked my chest out of my body. You're the one who got in the way. How many times have I said not to try stopping me when I rage? Nina cried. And your shield is weak. You don't expect a prismatic wall to be shattered by a kick, do you? Merlin glared back at her. What are they talking about? Arad asked Ginger. A prismatic wall is a 7th-level light spell that creates a wall of multicolored light. Each color nullifies an element. For example, red nullifies flames, and white nullifies physical attacks. Ginger looked at Merlin and Nina arguing. Merlin expected the raging Nina to go around the 3-foot-wide wall and then fall into a sleeping trap, but she kicked right through it, shattering 10 of Merlin's ribs. Ginger said with a scared face, apparently the spell didn't nullify attacks, it just had high resistance to damage, and Nina overpowered that. Alcott giggled. That was a surprising magical discovery, but we're lucky Merlin survived the kick. That spell did its job reducing Nina's kick damage to almost nothing. Arad looked around. Hey, don't feel like I fit here. He sighed. I would fit more. Doma giggled. True, you're as big of a monster as them. He relaxed as the carriage started to move. They would fly on his back as soon as they got into the forest. Alcott pulled a sword from his magic bag and started sharpening it. With each stroke, it flashed with countless sparks. After each stroke, he stared at the blade to make sure it didn't bend or chip. Merlin opened her hands, creating a small ball of magic, and started changing its colors, playing with it as a practice to improve her mana control. Ginger pulled some tools from her pocket and started working on a small project she'd been on for a while, knitting a scarf. Nina kept staring around at the building, following each one as they passed by like a dog in a car. Arad opened his eyes. He couldn't feel right sitting there in silence doing nothing, so he lifted his hand. Barrier, a crystal sphere, appeared, floating above his palm, shimmering under the sunlight. "Ho!" Merlin stared at it with a smile. "Barrier magic. It's been a while since I saw one. I've been studying it for a day or two now." "How is it looking?" he asked with a proud smile. She looked away. "Want compliment or truth?" "Of course the truth," he replied, and she extended her hand, touching the crystal and causing it to shatter. "You're bad a lot, to be honest." She lifted her hand, creating a similar crystal ball. "You are merely mimicking the shape, but leaving the internal structure." Arad pulled the barrier magic tome Gojo gave him and showed it to Merlin. "I only read about a quarter of it." Merlin's eyes opened wide as she saw the book, a smile crossing her face. "Of course you never got past the first chapter." She nodded, and there were still 5 volumes to it. Ginger looked at them. "Merlin is the one who wrote that book," she said, pointing at the end of the book where it was signed, Archmage Merlin Vo 105. Arad quickly read the last page of the book. "You really wrote this," he gasped. "Of course. What did you expect from an Archmage?" Merlin stared at him. "Putting quests to use people as test subjects and turn them into frogs." He stared at her, and she looked away. "Sometimes you need to test spells on humans." Alcott glared at her. "Like that one time you gave me that potion?" "No, that was a mistake. I didn't know that designing it based on myself could lead to that effect. I already apologized." "I understand that stuff needs to be tested." Ginger glared at her. "But do you know how confused I was when I saw him?" Ard looked at Alcott. "What's this about? Remember when we first spoke in my bath and I told you how I became a vampire, werewolf, zombie, and other things?" Alcott whispered. "Guh," Arad grunted. "I remember the only potion you spoke of was the one that turned you into a woman for a month. She made it as a full heal potion that works by restoring your body into a registered state." He looked at Merlin, and since she based it on herself, the registered state was a woman's body. Arad scratched his head. "But you used it." "I got badly injured in a fight and had to use it." He sighed. "Imagine how confused the devil I was fighting was. He thought I ran away and swapped places with a woman." As the two talked, Merlin extended her hand between her chest and pulled several small bottles. "I did mix a few dozen of it afterward. They work perfectly on me after all." Clang, Alcott pulled his sword, pointing at her neck. "You still had those?" "They are for me," Merlin cried. "They get automatically consumed when I receive a fatal injury and restore my full health." With a sigh, Alcott pulled his sword away and sat down. Arad looked at him. How was it being a woman's body? "Bad. It is a real transformation, and not an illusion. I got a lot weaker since I wasn't used to moving in that body and almost lost the fight against the devil." He scratched his head, "But I got used to it by the 3rd day and got my full power and range of motion." "How many stupid items are there in the world?" Arad sighed. "A lot." Alcott looked at Merlin. "As long as mages as her keep fooling around, useless and weird magic items would never stop flowing. I once saw a ring that plays a song when you pull your weapon." Ginger stared at them. "It was popular with bards as it allowed them to instantly cast a spell upon starting combat. I did make several cursed items as well." Doma giggled in Arad's head. Chapter 495. Merlin's Magic, Cursed Items. Arad gasped as he heard Doma's giggles in his head. "The one I remember best is the cursed sword pins. They make the wielder drowsy the more they swing the blade. What are pins, and who would use them?" Arad sighed. Alcott stared at him. "Cursed items?" He had heard him gasp earlier. "I was talking to her in my head. Do you know pins? She's saying to ask you." He tapped his head. "You mean those?" Alcott lifted the sword he was sharpening and showed Arad the handle. "See those small pins? The ones holding the wooden part of the handle to the blade so it can be wrapped with leather. Those are the pins." Arad pulled the adamantine sword from his stomach and looked at it. "She says she used to make cursed pins that make the user drowsy. Can that be used?" Alcott blinked. Of course, that's more useful than you think, he smiled. Merlin stared at them. If the kingdom was going to war, they would try and sneak those cursed pins into the enemy supplies. Those things can stop a whole war. Arad nodded. So it's like poisoning the army. It only works on humans, Alcott said with a smile. Elves and dwarves are cautious and inspect everything. Only humans can import crap from other nations and sell it as genius. Merlin nodded. Elves are proud and would insult anything that isn't made by an elf, and dwarves are ruled by honor. No dwarf would sell another a faulty item. They are right, by the way. Arad extended his hand into his stomach. I wanted to show you this thing. He pulled the Dragon Slayer sword. Nice, isn't it? He smiled. Alcott stared at the sword for a second. The Dragon Slayer. He gasped. Where did you find it? I got it from a mage, Arad replied with a proud face. Nice, isn't it? Of course, Alcott nodded. Well, if you're facing dragons, it makes sense. If not, it's useless. Alcott inspected the sword, as I thought. The magic flowing through the blade is amazing. It's perfect to cut through dragons' scales and bones. Merlin took a look at the sword. It also deflects their magic. A fire dragon won't melt this sword no matter how hard it tries. I thought you would be interested, Arad smiled. If you want me to buy it, I won't. Alcott replied. I already have more well-rounded swords. I do fight dragons more than normal people, but I do also face monsters and humans. I thought so, Arad nodded. I just wanted to know if the blade is genuine or not from an expert. The blade is. Does it have a sheath? Alcott asked, and Arad pulled the sheath from his stomach. This what came with it. After a short stare, Alcott sighed. That's a replica, a fake one. It has magic, but it's only mimicking the feeling of the original one, not its power, Merlin replied. Arad looked at the sheath. He could sense nothing strange in it. I don't know what the original one is, so I won't be able to tell the difference. What can it do? Merlin started explaining. The original sheath can transform into a shield that absorbs mana from dragons' magic and breath. You can either recharge your mana with it or release it again as a blast of the same elemental energy. So if I hit it with a fire breath, it can release the fire back at me. Arad nodded. That won't work since dragons are immune to their element. The fire from the shield would hurt them, Alcott said. You can even infuse the magic into the blade, Ginger sighed. What they mean is, the Dragon Slayer alone is like a blade that just cuts dragons a bit better. To unlock its full potential, you need its sheath as well. After a while, they finally reached the forest and stopped. Merlin jumped down from the carriage and flicked her finger. Dispel, summon, the horse and the driver disappeared in a silvery mist. Can you get out of the carriage? She asked. I want to cast some spells on it. Nina stared at her. You have something in mind. I saw it in some books, she smiled as everyone got out of the carriage. I read about the people of the East riding elephants, and they used a modified carriage to mount them. She smiled. I've been cooking a spell for some time to do just that. Since you saw Arad. Nina stared at her. You can't blame me, Merlin gasped. People see a tiger and think about riding it. I got bigger, you know. Arad stared at her. Don't worry. She waved her hand, sending strings of magic to the wooden carriage. I'm the Archmage Merlin. My magic isn't that restrained. From between her breasts, she pulled a large crystal ball. The crystal floated in front of Merlin, shimmering with magic as she constructed the spell. The silk threads of magic infused into the carriage, shifting the wood and wheels, creating ribbons and chains to tie it, and then forcing it to float in the air. Arad, mind-shifting now? She said, mana dripping from her eyes and fingers. Swash. Arad instantly transformed into his draconic form, and Nina gasped, You're almost as big as an adult red. I looked into void dragons, Alcott said, and they seem to grow too big, he looked at Arad. Your kind are native to the ethereal plane that surrounds the other planes. That vast empty space is the reason you grow too big. The mortal world, the nine hells, the endless abyss, the ashen wastes, Mechanus, and the other plans of existence all float in what the mages call an ethereal plan. That is where the void dragons live. Merlin waved her hands and the carriage stuck to Arid like a backpack, chained to him so it wouldn't fall. Does it hurt anywhere? Can you move with it? She asked. Snug and perfect, Arid replied. He could barely feel it on his back. His scales were tough. He then expanded his wings and did a backflip like a dog trying a trick. No problems with moving. Merlin smiled. Then, one last thing, what color do you like? Color? Nina stared at her. That doesn't matter. I meant his. We can't fly on a void dragon without drawing the mage's attention. I will change his color and allow him to camouflage. She replied with a smile. Lights Novel Amarad scratched his chin with his claw. How about red? Nina just said I'm almost as big as an adult red. You can use fire, right? Alcott stared at him. All elements, Arad replied. He can use the void to recreate all the breath weapons, and even if an element is tricky, he could let Doma do the math instead of him. Merlin smiled. So red it is. She waved her hand, and Arad's scales turned red. Spikes emerged in his back, and his wings' color started to flow faintly like hot steel. Arad opened his jaw, releasing a puff of flames. Arid the Red, he giggled. How should I act? Alcott nodded. You're far more perceptive than I thought. Try acting arrogant, be a bit angry, and address humans as humans or ants. Just look down on people, Merlin replied. Red dragons are known for that. Watch your mouth, human. Arid glared at Merlin, fire gushing out of his nose. You look like a decent snack, he growled. Alcott laughed. That's more like it. It was good. Now try camouflage. You should be able to activate it at will as long as I'm close and not unconscious. Merlin nodded, approving of Arad's act. Arad disappeared, his body molding into his surroundings. Remember, you aren't invisible. The color of your scales matches the colors of the environment around you. Any human can spot you if they focus hard enough. She explained. Arad appeared again, but it will work in combat or to sneak around when no one is expecting me. It also seems to affect the carriage. It's my magic after all, not your natural camouflage. She giggled. Let's get going. Arad stared at Nina, who was sitting in the back trying to touch a small fox. What are you doing? He asked. The fox's tail spiked as he slowly backed away, with Nina trying to calm him down. Arad, you're scaring her. Shift back. Nina stared back at him. Arad looked at the fox. I'm not going to attack you. Calm down. The fox stopped moving as Arad addressed her, staring at him with weary eyes. I see, her cubs are just behind the tree. She must have been scared when I appeared out of nowhere. Nina stared between Arad and the fox. You can understand her? I do. I can speak with animals. You're the same. I can't speak with them, but we barbarians are used to living with nature. Nina stood as the fox rushed back to her cubs. Arad laughed. So I best you in one thing. Nina stared at him. Want to test your power in a fight? Arad stared back at her. I know I still can't beat you, he looked around. In fact, I might only have a chance against you, Merlin. He turned. Merlin giggled. It's true. I don't have powerful attack spells, but don't underestimate me. She waved her hand and Arad went blind for a second. I can knock you out with magic if I try hard enough. She immediately returned his vision. We should go. With a second wave of her finger, all of the rose to Arad's back and sat in the carriage. Arad cleared his throat. Hold well. Humans, he roared. Muhaha, laughing as he took to the sky. Your acting is bad, Alcott giggled. Chapter 496, Attacked Village. As Arad took to the sky, the color of his scales changed to meld into the cloudy sky. A chuo, Merlin sneezed as the icy wind blew across her arms. It's cold. Winter is close, really. Alcott looked at her. It's not that cold for me. It feels nice, Nina stared at her. You two are the strange ones. Ginger pulled a blanket from her pocket and curled into a ball. "Too cold for you, human," Arad growled. "Bask in my great flames." A mane of red flames burst on Arad's neck, covering the carriage in a gust of warm wind. "You don't need to act while only us are here," Merlin stared at him. "But, thank you." Nina gave her axe to Alcott. "Can you sharpen it for me?" "Still, can't do it." Alcott sighed, pulling his tools. "I tried, but I ended up damaging the edge," Nina replied. "I'm not that good with skill work." "Skill work, you say?" Alcott stared at her. "You don't have patience, that's all." He smiled. "Look, sharpening a weapon takes time and care. It's a skill you develop through the years and not something you can master by trying it several times." After flying for a while, Arad heard screaming in the distance. "I hear screaming." "I only hear the wind," Nina replied. "I can't hear it as well." Ginger and Merlin added. "Dragons have sharper senses than us," Alcott replied and stared into the horizon. "Can you see it?" Arad squinted his eyes. A medium-sized fenced village, humanoids covered in fungus are attacking. "It's the one before the mountain that Riverside is behind." "It's on our way, fly over." Alcott pulled his sword. Nina stood and cracked her neck. Merlin pulled staff and Ginger a wand. "Flap, flap." Arad flapped his wings, shockwaves bursting around his head and shoulders. Thud as Arad got close. Alcott jumped from his back with a smile. "Alcott!" he screamed. "You back, you idiot!" Ginger shouted. "Let him be!" Nina smiled, jumping as well. "You too!" Arad screamed. "We're 4 kilometers above the ground," Merlin sighed. "Those two are always like this." She waved her wand, flying out with magic. "Wait for me." Ginger extended her wings and flew after her. Arad sighed. "I hope you can survive the fall. I'm not catching any of you." He flew up, turning mid-air and diving straight down. "Run." A man shouted, standing with a shield and sword in hand, his wife beside him carrying a spear. "I'm fighting as well," she growled and pointed the spear forward. The man looked back, seeing the other villagers and children run away. "Stay behind me." He stood forward, defending with his shield. His wife stood behind him. "He's the defender with the shield, and she would stab anything that he blocks." Growl, the fungal zombies rushed in, growling like frenzied dogs. Bam! He blocked the first with his shield, stabbing it in the chest with the sword. His wife rushed from behind him, stabbing the infected in the eye with the spear. "One down," she smiled. Crackle. Tentacles wrapped around the spear from the zombie's head and started pulling. The wife growled, "It's alive, lights, Noville." The man swung his sword, cutting the tentacles. But almost immediately, other tentacles tightened around the spear. Other zombies lunged in, and the man screamed, pushing his wife back and swinging his sword at them. Boom! At that moment, something crashed from the sky between the man and the zombies, releasing a massive dust cloud. "Ah! My ass broke!" Alcott growled. "Feather fall boots, my ass broke, you damned damsel!" He stood rubbing his lower back. The feather fall boots he bought failed to activate. The man gasped, seeing Alcott standing in front of him, staring at the zombies with an exhausted face. And I was looking forward to a graceful landing. "Who are you?" The man growled, trying to figure out if Alcott was an enemy or not. As far as he knew, humans don't fall from the sky. Alcott looked back at them with a smile. "Fighting with your wife?" He started patting the man's shoulder, laughing. "2 hands are always better than 1. The zombies remained still, their gazes fixed on Alcott's back. They can feel it, one move, and he would dice them. I asked, "Who are you?" The man pushed Alcott's hand away. "We're getting attacked." Don't worry," with a gentle smile. He touched the handle of his sword. "Close your ears." Clap. Alcott blitzed across the zombies, sending a shockwave strong enough to crack the building around them. A painful ringing plagued the man and his wife's ears as they watched the zombies fall apart, cut into cubes. "I'm getting my edge back." Alcott smiled, sheathing his blade. "Cain's herbs are no joke." Crack. Nina appeared at the end of the street, covered in blood and gore as she dragged her axe around. "Alcott, did you finish here?" "Yeah, what about you?" "Everything dead on my side." Merlin and Ginger flew in from above the building. "We cleared the place." Ginger landed beside Alcott with a smile. Merlin showed them a small glass bottle with a zombie inside. I captured one for research. I bet I can make something out of him. That's my brother, the man's wife shouted. Merlin stared back at her. He's my test subject now. You can't do that. He deserves to be buried, the woman screamed. I will give him to you after I'm done with him, Merlin replied. Studying him to save others is the right thing to do. He already suffered enough. It's right to put him to rest. The morally right thing to do is burying him, and the logically right thing to do is studying him. Merlin stared at the woman with a sharp glare. I picked the first one I came across. The rest are buried. He was just unlucky. Jwai, aptly E-A-P-L-E. Screams echoed across the sky, and the man and his wife panicked. Did they catch them? They glared back. It was the direction the people ran into. Don't worry. Alcott smiled, staring at the two. He's over there. Carry them over. A man screamed, looking back at the people lifting the elderly and children over the fence. He then pointed his sword at the approaching infected. Hurry, they are coming, as one screamed. The zombies stopped moving, staring at the wall. Mom, look, a kid pointed up. And when the people looked, they could spot the vague shape of a dragon moving above them. As Arad's camouflage lifted, the people could see him towering over them, fire gushing from between his massive fangs. With the horrifying presence of a dragon, everyone who could see him froze in place, contemplating their next move. Even the infected knew it. The hive mind controlling them didn't want any troubles with dragons, as they are known to be nothing other than a pain to deal with. Arad glared down, seeing both humans and infected staring at him, awaiting his next move. Chapter 497, Shifting Tides. Chapter 497, Shifting Tides. Arad stepped over the wall, his massive paws landing between the people. Even one of his silver claws almost reached a man's height. The heat started rising, and the slightly wet ground around them started drying as he glared at the infected. Rar. Arad roared, unleashing his frightful presence toward the infected. And awe was present toward the people beneath him, and they curled at the base of his tail, hiding behind his legs like they were trees. Mindless corpses. No, they aren't. The host might have died, but the fungus controlling them is still alive, and even it sought its survival. They took a step back. Arad's stomach flashed red, and the light slowly traveled to his chest and then to his throat. The people who were touching his legs got their hands burned. The infected turned to run away as they knew it was coming, the dragon's infamous weapon, roar. Arad opened his jaws, releasing a line of red flames across the street, charring all of the infected in one blast and leaving a black tray on the streets. The people stared at the ashes, then their gazes shifted to the massive dragon above them. Humans? Where did those rot piles come from? Arad growled, turning his head toward them, but he got no reply. Everyone was too scared to even speak. Well, no need to ask. He looked back at the village. I can ask you instead. From the between the houses, a twisted abomination of several mixed humans infected with fungi walked out. The monster stood 3 meters tall, muscular, with 7 bloodied arms, 5 heads, and blistered gray skin. Worm kind, the infected spoke. Our Lord doesn't seek to intrude on your kind. If this was your hunting ground, you should have only set your domain, and we wouldn't have entered Lights Novel cum setting domain like marking my territory. Arad thought, of course, I don't have this place marked. It isn't my domain. I bet they won't even come close to Alina since they can sense my magic there. Arad extended claws, lifting one of the village women, one that he saw to be in her early 20s. I do not rule this land. I merely take sacrifices from them. Arad dangled the woman as she screamed. The infected grunted. I came to see what happens to my cattle pen, and I find your kind here. Arad glared. Zugdmoy spawns. The infected gasped, taking a step back, and bowed. By any chance, are you an acquaintance of Rot Queen?
Good, they work for her, that's confirmed.
Arad put the woman back on the ground. Get yourself cleaned for when I come back, human. He then started walking toward the infected. Where is your portal to the abyss? I still have my mother's debt to her. The infected lifted his head. Your mother? I never heard of red dragons being that social. Arad lifted his claw, conjuring a ball of red flames. Watch this! The ball of flame flashed yellow, exploding into a massive blue ball rivaling Arad in size. It then shifted to a white color, and it started swirling like a tornado above him. The infected gasped. Such magic! Arad's eyes flashed as the while flame started sucking air into itself, using his gravity magic. Then, with a sneaky touch of his void, he morphed the flames to look black by sucking the light out of them. The ground beneath Arad started cracking and the dust got sucked into the flames. The infected gasped, holding to one of the houses so as not to get pulled into the inferno. We're a long line of fire wizards, Arad growled. Do not count me with the other lizards. Those mighty flames, the infected gasped. Are you of the Shadow End bloodline? Took you long enough. A deep rumble crackled in Arad's throat. He glared closely at the infected. Maybe I should burn all of your kind and find the portal myself? No need for that, the infected apologized. Our demonic patriarch is up there in the mountain, he pointed. I see, Arad nodded, the black flames disappearing. Lead the way. The moment the infected turned, Arad bit him across the torso and lifted him to the sky. Graga! He growled, fungi spreading across Arad's face. Roar! Arad unleashed a second fire breath, incinerating the infection in his jaw and sending the ashes to the sky in a beam of light. Arad then shook his head, the withering fungi falling off his cheeks and neck. If those creatures took over bodies by growing into them, he only needed to make his body uninhabitable by mixing the void with extreme temperatures. Arad, Alcott called, walking across the street with the rest. You're done over there? Their base is in the mountains, Arad replied. I see. Alcott looked at the mountain as the man and his wife rushed to the other villagers. Do you think she got mixed into this? Merlin asked. I hope not, Nina replied. I doubt her ability to resist being infected. Same for you, human, Arad growled, and Nina giggled. You're right. Well, they can infect me, if their roots can pierce my flesh. Nina's muscles and bones were so hard that growing into them was akin to growing in steel. It didn't matter where those fungi came from, it just isn't going to happen. We're using magic, Merlin pointed at herself and Ginger. Alcott scratched his head. I'm the only one that could be affected. No. I doubt they can survive in my body. Ginger giggled. All those types of blood fighting inside, the fungi would be walking into a war zone. Sir, an old man approached Alcott with a scared face. Is he safe? He looked at Arad. Arad's eyes shifted to glare at the old man, and he ran to hide behind Alcott. Well, get that woman ready for you immediately, he cried. Alcott laughed, tapping the man's shoulders. Forget about that for now and get the village on its feet. We're going to find someone and hopefully deal with those monsters. Human, Arad growled. I won't. Splat. Arad's head exploded as something piercing it at a blinding speed on top of the mountain. A demon sat on a stone, pointing his hand toward the village. Draconic threat eliminated. I repeat, draconic threat eliminated. He stood with a smile on his twisted face. Chapter 498, Layers of Protection. Chapter 498, Layers of Protection. Blood splashed on the ground as Arad's body fell to the ground. Motionless, Nina's skin turned deep brown, and her eyes shot red with blood. The veins on her muscles bulged as a deep growl escaped her lungs. Bam, she instantly jumped, disappearing from everyone's view. The ground where she stood shattered, destroying the building around in one blast. Don't, Merlin shouted, but she was late. Nina was already hundreds of meters away. That flea barbarian, she growled. Ginger, how is he? He'll be fine, Ginger said with a smile, looking at Arad's body. He only lost his head. But protect him with a barrier. Merlin waved her staff and enclosed Arad in a 10-layered prismatic barrier. Alcott cut anything that gets close. Ginger pointed at Arad, and he pulled his sword, taking a stance. A second shot won't slip through him. Crack! Nina smashed into the top of the mountain, screaming as her eyes darted around. The sniper was nowhere to be seen, even though the projectile came from this direction. Ha, ha, ha! The demon laughed, looking at her from another mountain. A sniper never reveals their location. It was a curved shot, bald ape he turned, a black portal opening for him to return to the abyss. Creak! Nina's eyes turned, glowing red as she spotted him from kilometers away. He was in the middle of walking through the portal when a blast took him by surprise. His left arm and parts of his chest got ripped apart. Ooh! He puked green mucus, staring with one eye, seeing Nina behind the portal with his missing parts. Lights Novell, calm, swash. He slipped into the portal and closed it. Damned monster. He fell on his face, bleeding as the other demons rushed to him. We miscalculated. The biggest threat was that barbarian woman. I repeat, kill the barbarian woman first. He fell unconscious after delivering the message to the hive mind. Nina stared back, seeing that he escaped even though she ripped his heart alongside his left lung as a demon. He probably had more than one heart. Roo-woo-woo! All the monsters in the mountain quaked, hearing the screams of a raging beast. Screaming calmed her down a bit, and she sighed, lifting what she ripped from the demon and jumping back to the village before her rage ended. Crack. Nina landed in the village, destroying the house she landed on from the rubble. She walked out, throwing the demon's heart and flesh at the ground. He escaped, she said. Merlin stared at the bloody mess and giggled. I'm surprised you even got him. He didn't curve the shot magic phase it? Alcott asked. He did curve it. He was on that mountain. She pointed in the direction they came from. Alcott giggled. People fear you for a reason. Even being a mountain away didn't save him. Hoy, Merlin said with a worried face. This is a high demon. The big one Arad killed is like ants to this thing. She glared at Nina. And how in the hell did you even rip him apart like this? Merlin asked with a high-pitched cry. Nina stared at her hand. My nails chipped a bit, and I do feel some pain in my elbow and shoulder. But it wasn't something I can't tear apart. Ginger tapped Merlin's shoulder. Listen, your protective spell will never protect you from a kick from her. What did your clan even feed to you to make you such a monster? She sighed. I don't know, Nina replied, her hands on her hips. Forget about me. How is he doing? She looked at the prismatic dome Merlin created. She couldn't see Arad inside as the blinding light protected him. He's recovering, Merlin replied. Looking at the dome, in fact, Arad wasn't inside the dome. She pulled him deep into the ground with burial magic. Even Alcott, who stood there guarding the dome, was a fake. The real one was with Arad underground. At this level, everyone uses at least one level of protection at all times. Merlin herself has the recovery potions ready in her storage magic in case she got fatally injured, and even Ginger could revive in her coffin if her body was destroyed. Arad fully healed in a few minutes, waking inside a small cavern with Alcott sitting beside him with a tiny fireplace. How are you feeling? Alcott asked. I was taken down, Arad growled, a heavy headshot. It seems things are taking a turn for the worst, Alcott said, stoking the flames. This mission might be a bit too much for you to handle. You can return to Alina. We will take care of the rest and bring Merida back, he said. Even if it was only her corpse, Arad stared at him. The possibility that Merida was already dead was high, considering that someone who can blitz him from a distance existed. I'm not going back, Arad laughed. It was fortunate that they aimed for my head. His wings wiggled, and his eyes expanded like a cat ready to pounce. You have something in mind? Doma asked if she could pluck my eyes out and cut my brain apart a bit. Arad couldn't stop giggling. I said no, but she did it anyway now that my head had to regrow. Are you sure it's safe to let her play with your brain? Alcott sighed with an exhausted face. I thought the same, but now that I can see what she made, I have to say. He smiled. She's nasty. I pity those who I lay my eyes upon. His eyes flashed green. Alcott looked at his arm, feeling a tingle under his skin. I see, it's nasty, he giggled. But it won't work on me. I'm blessed. Figured as much, but I doubt those demons have a blessing like you. Where did you even get that? Arad nodded. It's a long story. I got it from a nymph. Chapter 499, Dead Leads. Chapter 499, Dead Leads. So you're fine with staying? Alcott stood with a grin. As long as they don't destroy my head, spine, and heart at the same time, I won't die, Arad replied, cracking his necklights. Nouvelle? Crack. Merlin's prismatic dome cracked, and Arad walked out. I'm fine. What happened to the sniper? Sorry, he escaped. Nina pointed at the pile of flesh. No, you managed to get him? He stared at her. There is a reason why people fear her, Alcott said, sheathing his blade. We need to keep going before we do. Can Arad fight in this? Merlin stared at Arad. I won't fall again, he said, glaring back at the terrified villagers. I'm no human. Did you think blasting my head was enough to kill me? Alcott looked back at the villagers. We're going to see what's causing this. You can either hole up here or move to another village for refuge. I don't think any of them is any safer. An old man of the villagers walked out. He was their chieftain. We don't have anyone to protect us on the way. He nodded. Staying in the village exposes them to more infected attacks, and going out to the wilderness is the same, but with monsters to worry about. You won't happen to be able to protect us? He asked. I can, but I won't. Alcott replied, stopping the root cause of this infection takes priority to save the most lives. We will remain here then, the chieftain replied. Please end this as fast as possible. Heading into the mountain range, Arad stopped at the forest entrance, smelling the blood and fire. Monsters love mountains as they are hard to traverse for humans, Nina said. Arad lifted his head. There are no infected in this mountain, but I smell Merida's blood around it. At the peak, look. Merlin pulled a crystal orb from her storage and looked at it, scrying. At the peak, a ruined mansion rested in its own ashes. Looks like a storm hit it, Merlin sighed. If I remember correctly, this is the Cuchilla Dojo, a noble family of swordsmen in the service of Riverside's lord. She pulled a map and confirmed the information. Yes, it's them. Flap. Arad flapped his wings and flew directly to the top, landing in the dojo's courtyard. I don't sense any thoughts. He looked around. This place was abandoned. Merlin jumped down from Arad's back, detect life. I sense bugs and animals, but no humanoid life, she said, shifting her staff and reversing her magic. Reversed detect life, detect dead, right there. She pointed at the crumbling left wall of the dojo. There is a cliff. A corpse is down there, skewered on a branch. Arad walked and looked down, seeing the straight, rocky wall of the cliff. In the middle, a tiny tree grew with a corpse impaled on one of its branches. Get down, Arad said, and everyone walked down his wing. Keep guard, no need to waste magic here, he said, extending his claw and latching to the cliff. Dragons are expert climbers thanks to their long claws and muscular builds. They are known to rival even spiders when it comes to moving on, vertical or even upside surfaces. Arad walked down the cliff, his head facing down as if it were nothing until he reached the branch. Rotting but still new, he said, snatching the corpse with his jaw and walking back to the dojo. Thud. Arad dropped the corpse on the ground. It's new. 4 or 5 days, I say. Ginger looked at the corpse, pinching her nose. The stench, though. Merely 5 days and his body is rotting, Alcott snorted. He looks like a fighter, but such a fragile body is a disgrace. He touched the corpse's arms. I say he never surpassed his limit or even reached level 20. Is that so? Arad asked. We fighters hone our bodies beyond their limit, Alcott replied. Some fighter corpses never rotted for years after their death. That's how sturdy and well-cultivated their bodies became. How long will your body remain? Is it even useful? You would be already dead. I would be proud if my body lasted a century after my death, Alcott smiled. Look at this handsome face. It's waste to have it rot. Ginger looked at them. It makes resurrecting them easier. She looked at Alcott. I doubt you would die. Alcott waved his hand. It's the same reason why the stronger you get, The longer your lifespan becomes, mana layers under your skin, weave into your muscles and bones, and become a part of your very own being. It's the same process that transforms animals into monsters when exposed to extreme mana concentrations. Albeit for us, it's controlled, Nina explained, and Arad stared at her. You can explain that? A clan tradition. The stronger our bodies become, the closer we reach our mother, the primordial mother of Earth. What's that? Another godlike Catal or something? No, she's a living being, a mortal like us. Legends say she's asleep at the core of Earth even now. We call her Tarask, the primordial mother of Earth. Can you be quiet for a bit? Merlin stared at them, waving her hands over the corpse. I'm trying to focus. I'm not that good with this spell. Her eyes and hands burned with green flames, and threads of magic escaped her fingers and burrowed deep into the corpse. Speak with the dead, a spell that stirs the rotting brains of corpses, using what little energy still remains in their muscles and bones to transmit information. The magic to force corpses to speak. Crack. The corpse levitated beneath Merlin's hands as waves of necrotic magic flew from her. It's already too rotten. A few questions is all I can get. Who killed you? Merlin growled. Merida, our last master of the dance of blade art? The corpse replied, its voice cracking and gargling. Arid glared at the corpse. She was here 4 days ago, depending on Alcott's estimate for when the corpse died. Chapter 500 Into the Demon's Maw. Who are you? Merlin asked. And necrotic magic flew out of the corpse as it talked. Amorin Cuchilla, hold up. Merlin pulled a scroll from between her breasts. We need to keep this. The scroll opened up and burst into flames, creating a blue magic circle above her and Amorin. This is Merlin, Archmage of Alina. We found Amorin Chilla's corpse amid the demonic infection. I can only ask it one question due to him being dead for a while, so let's make it count. She smiled. Amorin Cuchilla, what does your family have to do with the demonic infection? She asked. The corpse twitched. Our ancestors summoned the demon centuries ago. We've been exploiting the contract for drug production, but we kept the infection in check by sending blade dance masters to kill the infected demons. The corpse fell to the ground. The magic couldn't force it to speak anymore. You heard him. Merlin looked at the magic circle with a smile. We're going to find a way to deal with this infection. Clap, clap. She clapped her hands and the magic circle disappeared, transforming into a scroll. What did you do? Arad asked. We can use this as proof of what happened here in case we were framed, or at least Merida. Merlin looked at Arad. She at least killed the son of a noble. This would prove to be in her favor. Precautions? Arad nodded. Of course it won't. Plop, 2 hands emerged beneath Merlin's feet, pulling her into her own shadow in the blink of an eye. Crack. Nina was about to lung into the shadow, but her legs sank as if she stood on water. Splash. Immediately, she found herself drowning in water before falling from a ceiling into a large black room. Where am I? Pew. A projectile flew beside her head, taking a chunk of her right ear. What's up, bitch? In the darkness, the demon she almost killed earlier stared at her with a smile. Welcome to my land. Nina glared at him. It's you again. What do I need to do to kill you? Mince you down? I'm flattered. You remember me even though you were raging. All barbarians I fought before were mindless animals. The demon laughed, standing and aiming at Nina. Here you die, is that so? Nina stared at him, pulling her axe from her back. I was told I'm a mindless monster, not an animal. The moment Merlin and Nina were snatched, Alcott pulled his sword, but the next thing he knew was seeing infinite darkness standing alone in the abyss. Where am I? Our Lady said, to separate and kill you one at a time. A demon spoke from the darkness, on its mouth showing. I see. Alcott looked back. So I have to kill you first. Veins were bulging on his forehead. Ginger. Ginger. A woman rushed to Ginger. It's been a while. Ginger stared at the woman, then stabbed her with her hand. Illusion, do you think this is enough to fool me? The woman turned into a mushroom and withered down. Ginger was standing in a vast mushroom forest, stared down at by a large demonic tree. "That was your sister," the tree replied. "And she's already dead," Ginger replied with a bored face. Her fangs grew longer and her eyes burned red. Two bat wings emerged from her back and slowly floated. "Probably I should teach you demons how to be evil for once. You're a mere vampire." The tree growled. "Demon, start begging for your life." Ginger smiled. "I'm known to break my toys faster the more pathetic they are." Merlin looked down, seeing the woman pulling her into darkness by the legs. "Succubus? No, you're infected." She pointed her staff down, chain lightning, crack, clap. A lighting bolt incinerated the two succubus into ash. Fly Merlin looked around, sensing the mana around her. This magic, it must be the abyss dimensional warp. No, that was shadow magic, the shadow phase. You think aloud a lot. A voice came from the darkness. "Now I'm hearing things," Marin said. "Matter not, I think aloud since it helps me focus." "No, you think aloud since your mind is writing the magic inscription? You can't have two voices in your head, can you?" The demon replied, emerging from the shadow. "Look at you, an Oni." Merlin could see the demon, a 10-foot tall woman with purple skin and one horn on her forehead. Her body oozed with magic signaling her as a wizard. "It doesn't matter what kind of demon I am." The Oni smiled. "I was hired by Her Highness Zugdmoy as a battle wizard. I asked to be one to kill so I can keep your spell book." Merlin pulled a book from between her breasts. "You mean this?" "Good luck deciphering it. I created my own language to encrypt it." She put the book back in her storage. "Death Cloud." The Oni pointed her hand at Merlin, unleashing a wave of green toxic smoke. "Really? A fourth tier?" Merlin waved her staff, gust of wind, blowing the cloud away. "Really? A first tier?" The Oni mocked her. "I have a larger mana pole. How about this?" Force blast, a beam of concentrated magic flew at Merlin at a blinding speed. Arad looked around, finding himself standing alone in front of a large throne with a woman sitting on it. "You know I can hear and see everything my servants do," the woman said with a smile, resting her head on her hand. "Who are you?" Arad growled, his wings expanding and his tail spiking like an angry cat. "Zugdmoy, queen of the fungi," she smiled. "You claim to be a Shadowend while aren't and thought that deceiving my servants is easy." She giggled. "The moment I heard that blatant lie, I sent my servant to blow your head off, but you didn't remain dead. So that attack was a retaliation." Arad stared at the demon queen, trying to figure out any weakness that he could exploit. Zugdmoy stood walking down of her throne. "I need a new servant. I'm sure you would fit the role." She extended her hand. "Of course, I only need your corpse, Chapter 501. Unfair odds, Chapter 501. Unfair odds, crack." Demogorgon stood as small as a human. He is a monstrosity with 2 baboon heads, a long snake tail, and 4 tentacles for arms. His legs are those of a goat, and the deep growl of his breaths can be heard from meters away. "I'm down to 1/3, no 1/4 of my power." He growled, lifting his hand up and opening a small portal. "Human souls. That's the fastest way to regain my power. Damn you. You be damned to the infinite abyss, Cain Lisworth." The horror that never dies, grunting, the crumbling demon lord stepped back into the mortal world, taking a deep breath of its clear air. "I can smell them, humans. Women, children, fresh souls everywhere. This is truly a feast fit for a lord." He laughed. "You're ugly. Did anyone tell you?" Zephyr sighed, staring at him from a tree. Her eyes burned with a green flame. Demogorgon stopped laughing, staring at her. "Great wind spirit, Zephyr. I heard of you the same way your kind hear of us demon lords." He smiled. "You'll make a fine main dish." She laughed. "I know we Fae might seem lazy, but if not for our presence, your kind would be crawling into this world like maggots on a corpse." She started floating. "Begone, a demon that crawls in the abyss. This my land." Tap, tap, a finger tapped Demogorgon's back. "Hey, Zephyr." The white-haired and blue-eyed man asked.
Do you know this ape face? Get your hand off me, Ant. Demogorgon growled. Zephyr laughed. I knew you'd show up, but leave this to me.
Demogorgon grunted. Gojo kept tapping his shoulder with one finger even though he asked him to stop.
Wash, in the blink of an eye, the demon lord swung his tentacle arm, smacking Gojo in the face and exploding the area in a burst of compressed water.
A mere human. Demogorgon laughed. Wind spirit, what did you even think this man could take off your hands? Cough. Gojo waved the water away with his hand, annoyed. Did you just puke at me? Was that supposed to do anything? Gojo stared at Demogorgon. I hit him with enough power to kill 5 humans. I have to preserve my power to fight the wind spirit and escape if Kane shows up again, but it is sure to kill this human. Why aren't you dead? Demogorgon growled. Why? 'Cause I'm breathing? My heart is beating and I'm sure I'm not an undead, Gojo replied. He then pointed at Demogorgon's heads. Zephyr, this isn't some random ugly race I don't know off, right? Gojo asked with a puzzled face. He looks humanoid enough and smells of the same magic of the tieflings. I'm a demon lord, ignorant. Demogorgon growled. Ah, is that so? Sorry, I never heard of a tiefling ruling a nearby city. Gojo bowed. He isn't. Zephyr stared at them with a smile. He's the demon lord Demogorgon, one of the rules of the abyss, albeit of the higher layers. She giggled. He's an outsider of the mortal world and seeks to devour all the human souls in the city. Oh, Gojo smiled as if he realized something. So he's a threat to deal with. Crack! With one hand he grabbed Demogorgon's right face. The demon lord grunted, offended. He tried to pull his face from Gojo's hand, but then realized. His grip is tight. Crack! Gojo kicked Demogorgon in the guts, twisting his insides and sending him flying away from Alina with a blast. That wasn't a human kick. Demogorgon puked green blood, his body rolling across the clouds. Ding! Alcott pointed his sword down, looking around at the countless demons surrounding him. It's like I'm on a battlefield all alone against an army, he mumbled. 'Cause you are the demon general, Gatora shouted with an exhausted breath. He lifted his hand, cut him to pieces. Alcott swung his sword, cutting each demon that got close with a calm face. He isn't trying to get close, but runs away each time I try approaching him. He smiled. That's the right way to deal with a fighter. Since fighters are strong and durable, it's usually hard to beat them in close-quarter combat. Due to their speed, dodging magic is a simple task as well. The simplest way to deal with a fighter was to exhaust them with sheer numbers and slowly carve onto their stamina till they drop down. This demon general, Gatora, did just that by conjuring countless demon shadows to fight Alcott as he waited for a good chance to finish him off. Even one of those demons would cause havoc outside the abyss. They aren't the kind of monsters humans should be facing, Alcott thought, swinging his blade and cutting 2 demons at the same time. I can't keep doing this forever. I will sooner or later lose to exhaustion. Thud. Alcott lunged at Gatora, trying to slice him and end the fight, but the demon just disappeared. He dodged. No, I cut something. Alcott looked down, seeing the disintegrating corpse of one of the demonic shadows. Did he switch places with it at the last moment? You can't kill me, human, Gatora laughed. Kill him. Countless demons lunged at Alcott, swinging their claws and swords. Crackle in the blink of an eye, Alcott blitzed them and cut Gatora again, but he only found the corpse of a demon shadow. No, he isn't dodging. I'm killing him. Alcott smiled. He turns into a demonic shadow each time he dies. You're a lively one, aren't you? Gatora stared at Alcott, annoyed. It's been centuries since I saw a human as disgusting as you. Thanks for the compliment, Alcott giggled. Ugly to demons is handsome to humans. He lifted his sword, blood trailing from his palms into the blade. I'm finally recovering from an ailment, you see? Alcott smiled. It's been a decade since I used this. I can't contain my excitement to go all out again. Blood Massacre, Chapter 502, Burning Blade, Chapter 502, Burning Blade. Using his vampiric magic, Alcott controlled his blood and extended it out of the tip of his sword, expanding its reach. his muscles contracted, supported by his lycanthropic skeletal structure and guided by his years of experience, blood massacre, action surge, and adrenaline rush. Those are the two basic skills a fighter gets and the ones Alcott honed the most. Activating them in sync allowed him to quadruple his attack speed, and coupled with his recovery, he could go even faster. With all the powers in his body, Alcott achieved an unhuman 256 attacks, a second quadrupling that got him to 1,024 attacks, yet that wasn't all he had. Forcing the skills to remain active by risking damage to his body, he could extend their duration to just over 6 minutes. Adding the blood to the mix, extending his range to around 20 meters, he turned into a ball of carnage. Blood massacre wasn't a skill, but just the name he gave to a combo he created. On top of everything, he wasn't chained to one location, thus allowing him to move. Alcott's explosive speed showed up as he lunged across the demons with a blinding speed, dicing them like a human blender. Getora gasped. In 4 minutes, all of his thousands of demons were turned into bloody mush, and the Dragon Slayer lunged at the general with a bloodied sword. A demon corpse appears when I kill you. That was wrong. A demon spawns when you're injured. I bet you cut yourself thousands of times before facing me, so what would happen if I killed them all at once? You don't have time to spawn more. His eyes had a faint golden glow to them. Bam. Getora jumped back, extending his hands forward with a growl. This isn't over. Alcott could still keep going for 2 minutes. The blood massacre is nowhere near its end. Countless slashes rained down on the demon general. With each wound, Getora spawned a shadow demon, but they instantly got torn apart in Alcott's storm, never giving them the chance to see the darkness of the abyss. Some worms are known to regenerate into 2 worms after being cut in half, a magnificent feat of life. But that all doesn't matter when thrown into a blender. Alcott's sword started heating up from the friction against the demon's tough skin, and it turned bright red, setting the blood around it ablaze. A burning blade, are you saying he's swinging it that fast? The demon general gasped as the flames burned his wounds, making it harder for him to regenerate. Crack. Finally, a few seconds before Alcott's timer could run out, his sword shattered, unable to handle the sheer pressure of the swings. It had grown dull from the continuous cutting of demon flesh. Alcott stopped, staring at the sword. Even this isn't good enough? He sighed, but it couldn't be helped. Demon's skin is as tough as iron. It didn't matter how sharp the edge was, or how strong the blade's metal was. Doing several thousand cuts on iron in a short span of time is bound to damage the blade. Hee, Getora laughed. Magnificent skills, but weak equipment. He extended his hands forward, charging a spell. Thwack, before he could even start his magic, Alcott lunged forth, punching him in the face and drilling his head to the ground. Do you know? Gods are annoying. They only grant power to their devout believers. Alcott lifted Getora by the head and dropped the burning sword hilt. But there is one God that only grants his power to humans, and not just any human, those who fight to protect humanity, the heroes. Crackle. Divine lightning crackled from his fist as his eyes flashed with a holy light. You demons threaten humanity. Of course he would retaliate. Getora growled. You reek of vampire blood. There is no way someone like you could wield holy magic. Who decided that? Alcott glared at Getora, clenching his fist. You're their hero? The demon screamed. A fighter can use any weapon he desires. Even stones, sticks, and ropes could be seen as weapons. That also includes their fists. The last thing Getora saw was Alcott's burning fist, coming down like a falling star upon his face. Action surge, adrenaline rush, divine smite crackle. Crack, 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 crack. Crack, 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 crack. It only took 1 second for 1,000 divine fists to smash down on Getora's body, ripping his existence apart as his flesh burned in divine magic. I was ready to retire, though. As the demon turned into ash, Alcott sat on the ground, panting and staring at his shaking hands. This looks bad, he smiled, a half-assed vampire like me. Shouldn't be using this. He lay on the ground, resting to allow his body some time to recover. I hope Merlin comes to pick me up soon. I can't dimension warp out of here alone. Roar. The sniper demon lunged back, pointing his arm at the roaring Nina lunging after him. You're a rabid beast, he laughed, blasting her to the ground with a beam of fire. Bam! Nina rushed directly through the flames, splashing them like water as she swung her axe down at him. Can we at least talk? He dodged, sweating. I keep blasting her, but my magic bounces right off her skin. Clack. He pointed at her again, firing a compressed bullet of mana. Ding. The bullet hit Nina's head and bounced off, barely budging her hair. Her skin reflects magic. Nina swung her axe at his head, and he lifted his solid arm to block. You're a pain to deal with. Did anyone tell you? He deflected her axe aside and blasted her again. As he got a fair distance away, he condensed a stone bullet and fired it at her, hitting her shoulder. The bullet grazed Nina's shoulder, signaling that her physical resistance wasn't as potent her magic reflection. But the scratch on her shoulder didn't even last enough for an eye to blink, regenerating faster than any demon he ever saw. The demon lifted his hand. I learned this from a devil, a nasty curse. Swash flame gushed out of Nina's nose, and the inside of her lungs burst into flame before her whole body got engulfed in a massive fireball. Self-combustion curse. The demon smiles. The fire of rage burns people from the inside out. The stronger their anger is, the hotter the flame burns. He smiled, seeing Nina's charred body fall onto the ground. Your magic reflection is limited to your skin. You can't do anything about magic activating inside you, he laughed. But your insides felt a bit weird. He turned to leave. Well, it doesn't matter. You're already cooked to the bones. Rawr. Nina's body moved as she stood on all fours, roaring with her flesh, regenerating at a blinding speed. The demon stopped, staring back with sweat dripping across his face and back. You're serious? Are you immortal or something? Chapter 503, A Lizard from Ancient Earth. This woman, the demon jumped back, turning away to run. She isn't normal. Something is off about her. Clang. Nina flew right past him, ripping one of his legs off with a kick. Her skin was bright red as steam rushed out of her body due to the excessive heat-generated burn, he screamed, burning her once again, but she tanked it, healing almost immediately. Her regeneration is out of control. The demon jumped aside, trying to figure out a way to stop Nina. Usually fire and acid were the things to go with, but if even internal combustion wasn't enough to hinder her regeneration, acid isn't even worth trying. I'm not wrong, he grunted, his leg regenerating as he pointed his arm at her. I can feel it, your body. Something is wrong with it. Bam. Nina lunged forward, roaring with a clenched fist, racing toward the demon's face. He barely dodged, touching her stomach. Blast, crackle, crackle, crackle. Several beams of concentrated magic rushed from his palm, attempting to pierce Nina's stomach, but they just splashed like water on steel. Clack. Nina held her axe high, dropping it down toward the demon's head. Roar, swash. The demon flew back, extending two wings and staring at Nina. His right shoulder and arm were ripped off by her axe. I'm doing almost no damage at all, and one solid hit from her would kill me. His arm regenerated. Let's try piercing damage. Nina didn't wait for him, jumping right toward him relentlessly. The demon flew out of her way. My only advantage is the simplicity of her attacks. She closed the distance as fast as she could, then swung, as long as I time my dodges. Well, she isn't a threat. Bam, 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 bam. As the two flew across the battlefield, the demon grunted, but at this rate, I will be the first one to fall. Click. As he gathered enough mana, he pointed his hand at her. Eat this. A stone the shape of a bamboo emerged out of thin air, spinning at a horrifying speed enough to shake the air around it. Wait until she jumps. He aimed. Pew! He fired the bullet right as Nina lunged at him, wishing to blow her head off with a shot inside her ever-roaring mouth. Impossible, the demon cried. Nina clenched her jaw down on his bullet, shattering it between her teeth. Thwack! As if squatting horizontally, Nina flew directly at the demon's face with 2 kicks as she swung her axe at his torso, cutting him in half. The demon's upper torso rolled on the ground with his blood boiling due to Nina's axe. To think I would lose so easily, he giggled. But it isn't over, he screamed. From the darkness, hundreds of demons like him appeared, all aiming down at Nina. We're an army, we're one. Even Lady Zugmoy won't survive this. Boom. All demons fired at the same time, blowing Nina and their commander in a massive blast. Commander Eric, may you rest in the eternal swap of Zugmoy. One of them walked forward, lifting his hand and saluting the explosion. May he rest, all the demons repeated. Follow me. We're assisting Getora. I did feel his magic flickering. The demon turned to leave, but then the explosion flame faded. Roaga! Nina's scream blew the flames off as she crawled out of the infernal hell. The demons created enraged more than ever. For real? She survived that? The demon gasped, sweating as he aimed at her. Again, boom, all the demons fired, blasting her with a second blast. You were lucky to survive the first one. You should have just laid down. Nina lunged out of the explosion, ripping the demon in half with her bare hands. All the demons cried, half rushing to fire at her while half attempted to run away. None of them wanted to deal with someone who survived a blast that could kill a demon lord twice in a row. On the other side, the Oni woman fighting Merlin stopped, staring into the distance. This magic, no life force. Do you have time to look elsewhere? Merlin pointed her wand at her, firing a flame lance. The Oni created a barrier blocking Merlin's spell. You're annoying, that life force. The Oni grunted. A Tarask? But how could it be that lizard lays asleep at the core of the earth and only wakes once in a few centuries? We didn't pull it into the abyss. We aren't that stupid. She dodged a few spells from Merlin and fired a beam of lightning at her. No, the life force is far lower than the Tarask. A newborn? No, this is a sorcerer, someone with the Tarask's blood. Clap. Merlin teleported to the One's side, smacking her in the face with a quarterstaff. I'm the one fighting you, Merlin said with a smile. She could sense Nina going crazy in the distance. The Oni growled. Merlin wasn't allowing her a chance to leave. At this rate, they will all die. Trying to kill that thing is useless. I need to throw her back into the mortal world. She lifted her staff and tried to conjure a portal. You won't leave, Merlin pulled an orb, sending waves of magic and disturbing the portal, shattering it. As long as Nina is here, you will lose eventually. Merlin stared at her with an evil smile. You don't have the means to stop her. The demons screamed, running for their lives no matter how many times they blew her up. She kept coming back again and again. Each time she became faster, stronger, and even more aggressive. The fearless demons crawled on the ground, digging holes to hide in as the blood of the comrades splashed across the sky. They started shaking and crying. Each time they looked back, they only saw her cutting them apart. God save us, one of the demons prayed, crying as he could feel Nina's oppressive presence approaching. Thud. Nina? You're getting too angry, a girl's voice boomed across the darkness. Grr. Nina stopped, staring to the side to see Caden with Callie sitting on his shoulder. I will kill the demons, Caden said. You calm her down before she loses all her sanity. Don't worry. Callie jumped from his shoulder, her pink hair glowing as she walked cheerfully toward Nina. Cling the moment Caden pulled his sword, all demons turned into a red mist. Nina, I want to play, Callie lifted her hand. Swash consumed in her rage. Nina kicked Callie in the face, but the little girl didn't budge an inch. Don't want to? Callie said with a sad face, clapping her hands. Well then, probably next time, Nina's skin returned to normal, and she fell to the ground unconscious. Should we take her back? Caden asked. A Tarask doesn't have neither a brain nor a heart. If we had left her rampage, she would have lost herself and turned into a monster. Callie looked back at Caden. But that doesn't mean we can interfere too much. We'll leave her here. She would be fine. Caden nodded. If we left her rampage, she would have eventually reached Zugdmoy and killed her. What if she raged again? She won't. Callie replied. Zugdmoy and Demogorgon have to worry about the Orion brothers. Nina won't wake in time. Chapter 504, Magical Splash Flare. Chapter 504, Magical SL Pash Flare. The Oni growled, glaring back at Merlin. Get out of my way! Hee hee! Merlin giggled, spinning her staff with a giant smile before turning it into a broom. There are no people around here. I can test a few things. She burst out laughing, sitting on her broom and pulling a wand into her hand. The Ani stared at Merlin. Wait, what's this? A crystal orb emerged from Merlin's storage and started orbiting her as 3 stars of light flashed above her head. The mana around her. Is pulsing? The Oni swung her hand. Wind slash, a blade of compressed air flew toward Merlin with a loud whistle. Merlin's broom wiggled, growing a leaf with a crack. The leaf turned into a massive trunk that smacked the wind blade with a blast. The trunk shifted to resemble a large muscular arm, and the Oni gasped. What? Crack! Another arm grew from Merlin's staff, followed by 2 legs from the brush. The staff's shaft turned into a torso as Merlin laughed, sitting on the golem's head. A large titan standing at 50 meters tall, in the shape of Arad wearing a hay skirt from the broom's brush. Wood golem creation. Titan, Arad. The hell is that? The Oni screamed, lifting her hands as the golem swung its first. Wash, swash, swash! They only flew around, dodging the golem's punches like a running mosquito. Faster Arad, Merlin couldn't stop laughing. Crack. The golem managed to land a hit, but the Oni blocked it with a barrier. The golem lunged, kicking the Oni like a ball. She flew in her barrier orb, crashing on the ground. She lifted he head, seeing the golem falling down at her with a kick. I have to ignore him. Hitting her should stop the spell. Zon the Oni teleported right to Merlin's back. Yo, die! She pointed her hand at her, charging a fire blast. Merlin turned her head, seeing the flames spiraling in front of her nose. Gak! Ugh! She screamed with a scared face. The Oni smiled. This is your end. Merlin's scream quickly got louder and louder, and the Oni could feel her ears screaming in pain. This, as Merlin screamed, a blast exploded from her mouth, sending the Oni flying back with her magic. Sonic boom, Merlin's scream turned back into a laugh. Fall from the sky, I call a hammer of thunder. A black cloud formed in the sky, crackling with lightning. The Oni swung her staff, trying to inscribe a fly spell. Clap. Lightning fell from the cloud, striking her. More and more, Merlin clapped her hands, the orb, orbiting her, flashing with lightning. Clap, clap, one lightning bolt after the other. The Oni got struck several times before she could start flying normally. She's using all 3 arcane focuses. The broom acts as a staff, empowering her spells. I can't destroy that, as it's now taken the shape of the golem. The crystal orb around her increases her accuracy and control over magic, while the wand in her greatly enchants her casting speed. The Oni pulled a new staff, a black one, and pointed it at Merlin. How long can you keep that up? A long fire lance emerged in front of the Oni's staff. Primordial fire, the heat of creation, Vur Zonas. The lance rushed at Merlin like a missile, its light illuminating the abyss. Merlin waved her hand, creating a domed barrier to deflect it. The Oni smiled, pointing down with her fingers. The lance shifted its direction and hit the golem in the chest, setting it ablaze. Let's start by taking your firepower, shall we? The Oni laughed. Hiya, Merlin cried. The golem's head, she was sitting on, burning beneath her. My Arad, swash! Suddenly the flames faded and only left vapor rushing out of the golem, and the 2 wizards stared at the golem, surprised. Ah! Merlin gasped. I forgot. He's made of green wood that isn't dried yet and is hard to burn. Zon, the Oni, teleported right behind Merlin. She expected her spell to fail, but not for that reason. Anyway, it doesn't change her plans. Swash. She swung her fist at Merlin, trying to use her superior body to knock her out. Onis average around 10 feet in height, and their musculature structure helps support that, making them able to easily beat an untrained human. Thud. Merlin caught the Oni's wrist. She wasn't an untrained human. Crackle. An electric pulse flew from Merlin's hand, zapping the Oni. As the Oni cried, Merlin followed with a slap to the face, shocking her once again. The Oni grunted, tanking the hit and swinging a kick at Merlin's face. With a smile on her face, Merlin ducked beneath the kick, creating a small gravity source in her palm and using it to snap the Oni's wrist she was still holding. Crack. Crack! Merlin followed it with several punches, filling the Oni's body with lightning. This woman is martially talented. Attempting to use raw power against Merlin, fired back worse than she could have anticipated. Burning flash, the Oni ignited her body in a fiery blaze, trying to prevent Merlin from getting closer to her. Get her! Merlin jumped back with a smile, and the golem caught the Oni in his hand, trying to crush her. Gah! She puked blood, feeling her ribs cracking. Dim flash burst crackle. The Oni's body flashed with magic, and Merlin's vision got engulfed in a blinding light. Boom! The flames rose to the sky as the fire of the hells burst into life, shattering the golem and blasting Merlin away. Did she self-destruct? Merlin gasped, her vision blurry from the sudden flash. Crack! She then felt something pierce her chest. I got you. The Oni giggled, blood dripping from her mouth. I didn't want to use that as it weakened my mana pull. But it's worth it to take your heart, Cracky. She pulled Merlin's heart out. It's here you die, wizard. You've done well for a human. Merlin lifted her shaking hand, putting it inside the gaping hole in her chest. This is, she said with a sad face, pulling an empty potion from the wound. Huh? The Oni stared at her, confused. That was the restorative potion she once gave to Alcott. Magical, splash, flare, Merlin released all of her mana out, breaking it and forcing an explosion. A blinding, pure white light illuminated the abyss as a shock wave reached the lower layers. The Oni didn't get a chance to know what happened before her own mana ignited, erasing her with everything else. Chapter 505, The Demon Queen. Chapter 505, The Demon Queen. So Ginger sat on a stone, staring at the rotten forest ahead of her. Are you done yet? The whole forest burned in red flames, and the large tree demon cried, You're a vampire. Your magic shouldn't affect me. He? Ginger giggled. I don't need to rely on my vampire powers. She lifted her hand. Fire strong? I'm a wizard after all. She watched as the forest burned. You demons tried to pick an opponent that has an advantage against us, but your plan would backfire. S-ranks always have multiple ways of dishing damage or resisting it. She then looked back. I'm more worried about Arad. He has multiple skills, but I fear he won't be able to keep up. Firewood Ginger stared down with a smile. Where is our dragon? Where did you send him? Tell me, and I might let you live. The tree laughed as it burned to ash. There is no need to hide it anymore. He's sent to his death. Lady Zugmoy awaited him. Ginger started sweating. The demon queen of fungi. Even the four of us combined won't be able to stand against it. Crack. The sky above them cracked, and Merlin flew in. Ginger, you fine? Ginger looked up. I felt your magical splash flare from here. That was an impressive burst for a support wizard. I do train. She looked at the burning forest. You seem to be done here. Let's head to find the rest. You won't put the flames out? The demon tree growled as she saw Ginger and Merlin flying away. Ginger stopped and looked back at it. I said I might, and I decided I won't. Arad is facing Zugmoy. We need to get to him first, Ginger said, and Merlin nodded. I know, I already tried teleporting there, but a magic barrier is stopping me. That demon queen is blocking us. Merlin looked at her crystal orb. We need to find Alcott and Nina while I'm trying to crack her barrier. Got it, Ginger nodded as they phased through reality. Arad stared at the demon queen, feeling the heavy pressure of her magic. I don't know where I am. I can't teleport away. This is bad. Run while I figure a way out, Mom said. I doubt even I can beat her, but I should be able to help. Keep running for now and don't take any direct hits. Bam. Arad lunged back, extending his hand forward, gravity magic one source. He created a gravity orb behind Zugmoy to pull her away from himself. She laughed, unaffected by his magic. The pull is weak, she glared at Arad. Spring fungi click. A large mushroom appeared behind Arad, compressing and then releasing all that power in one go, smacking Arad in the back. Crack. He could feel his spine crack, his body few directly toward Zugmoy, who caught him in her embrace. Don't run away from me. Soon you will serve me for the rest of your life. She smiled. Roar. Arad screamed, his body bursting into flames. The fire quickly grew larger and larger, from red to blue, then to white, exploding in a massive rose. Zon. 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 Arad teleported away, but Zugmoy kept teleporting after him, making sure he didn't get out of her embrace. You're an energetic one. She giggled, her spores digging into the wound on his back. Clap. Arad clapped his hands. Void expansion. Orion. Swash. The black void consumed everything around them as Arad's body expanded, growing wings and claws. The vampiric wormwolf roared as it soared across the empty void. Zugmoy smiled. A void born, but you're young. Spawns of the bog, hundreds of demons appeared out of nowhere, rushing toward Arad even though they were in his void. Arad's 6 eyes shifted in color, glowing with a bright green glow. Crack. The demons around him turned to stones, petrified with his gaze. The modification Doma was working on inside his eyes and brain was this, giving him traits similar to Medusa. Clap. Zugmoy pulled a quarterstaff made of one long fungus. Curse of petrification. How impressive. She jumped up, pointing at him. By the order of the demon lord, turned back to a humanoid. Arad's body froze in place, morphing back to his humanoid form. Zugmoy stared at him with a smile. I rule this place, and no one can go against my rules. Think of it like your void expansion. Bam! He lunged back, swinging his fist at her face. She dodged and smacked him to the face, sending him rolling across the ground and bursting his void expansion open. I won't survive here if I can't deal with someone like you. She smiled, approaching him. But you're doing well for a toddler. Arad tried to stand, blood gushing from his mouth. She ripped a wound inside his stomach. Her attacks are wider than they seem. He glared back at her. Roar without a warning, he unleashed a void breath at her. Thud. Zugmoy took one step, bypassing the breath and appearing behind Arad. You're slower than me, weaker, and have less magic experience and even natural talent. She giggled, tapping his back with her hand, and worse, you're fighting me in my domain. You're going to lose no matter what. Swash, Arad turned, swinging a kick at her face. She dodged, but he followed with several fists, trying to chain some slaps into them. He even tried to hide a nipple knife stabbed in the middle, but she weaved them all. Clap. She caught his hands and smiled, pulling him toward her. I can't wait to have you serve me for the rest of time. She kissed him, her spores rushing through his mouth and into his body. Arad's body stopped moving, the light in his eyes fading as the fungus spread across his veins and muscles, eating him from the inside out. Zugmoy giggled. A new servant. It will take a while for you to wake up, so I will be waiting. She turned to leave, letting him fall face first on the ground. The fungi grew from Arad's back, consuming his corpse as the demon queen walked away. Then a faint pink glimmer faintly glows in his eyes with tattoos emerging on his skin. Chapter 506. A Challenger. Chapter 506. A Challenger. A swash. Crack. Demogorgon flew across the sky from Gojo's kick, smashing into a mountain peak and bouncing back. Gah! He gasped, opening his eyes to see Gojo staring down at him, about to throw a punch. You bastard! Demogorgon shouted. Thwack! Gojo punched him in the face, sending him down with a shockwave strong enough to disperse the clouds covering the peak. Boom! Demogorgon smacked into the ground, shattering the forest and barely standing up. One of his jaws torn apart, and blood gushed out. I only have a quarter of my power, but none should be able to harm me. Who is that man? You done yet? Gojo said, standing behind Demogorgon with a smile. The demon lord glared back, the white hair and blue eyes giving him flashbacks. He looks just like him. Who are you? He growled. Gojo stared at him. You're quite tough. Most would have turned to mush from that. He started stretching. I asked, who are you? Demogorgon shouted. His wounds already healed as his two heads grunted. Pew, in the blink of an eye, Gojo lunged at the demon lord, grabbing his right head and punching his left head. Clap. The ground beneath them shattered. Blug. Demogorgon coughed blood. Heavy. It's not just weight. Get away from me, he screamed, unleashing a blast that sent Gojo flying back. Thud. Gojo landed on his feet, walking toward the demon lord with a smile. You're stronger than I expected. You really should have died from those hits, glaring at him with two glowing blue eyes. I can't sense anything strange from him, and that's strange. Demogorgon thought, he looks nothing more than a regular human. But why do I see him in him? He grunted. You're good at hiding your power. Excellent, I dare say. Demogorgon laughed. I'm sure your soul would be worth the effort. Clack. In the blink of an eye, he swung his tentacles. Thud. Swash. Gojo dodged each swing. His eyes were fixated on the demon lord as he analyzed his speed, power, and magic purity. Everything was excellent, far more than he ever saw in anyone else. He might be the second strongest being, aside from his mother, going by how she attacked him. Clack. Gojo caught one of Demogorgon's tentacles and smiled. I like it. It's been a while since I had to fight like this. He started laughing. Gojo's eyes opened wide as mana rushed out of his body, rising to the sky like a beam of light. This mana, Demogorgon gasped, denser than air? Clap. Gojo put his hands together. Ice magic, mighty fortress. Ice rushed from beneath Gojo's feet, freezing the whole forest in a flash. Massive walls of ice started rising from the ground, forming a great fort engulfing the whole area. Crack. Demogorgon could feel his feet freezing. This fortress forcibly tries to freeze anything inside or around it except the caster. Continuous frost damage also exhausts and saps the stamina. I'll melt it in a flash. He opened his maws, exhaling a massive blast of fire. Crackle, engulfed in lightning. Gojo appeared beneath Demogorgon's jaw, swinging an ice blade. Thunderstep. He pushed the sword into the demon lord's chest and touched his stomach with his hand. Force blast, ba-ba-bam. 3 consecutive bursts of force blasted the demon lord back clock. Demogorgon's tentacle wrapped around Gojo's leg, pulling him closer. This powerful magic, you remind me of him? Demon spray. Demogorgon pointed his tail at Gojo, splashing a black liquid at a blinding speed. Gojo could see it, but it was too fast for him to dodge, especially when caught by the demon lord's tentacles. But his instincts told him he shouldn't let himself be touched with something he doesn't understand. The fear of the unknown. Time-stop Gojo started moving, leaving after images as he cut Demogorgon's tentacle, rushed behind him, and then kicked him into the fortress's wall. Inside the stopped time, he can't cast magic. Zon clap. 1 second. Demogorgon had his hold on Gojo, and in the same second, he was stuck to the wall, puking blood. Demogorgon stared at Gojo, rage swelling in his chest. Time manipulation? Who is this man? I, a demon, is losing. Crack. Gojo ripped his shirt off, remaining in a tank top as he took a stance, taking a deep breath. Lightning started crackling from his back as pure magic dripped from his eyes. The magic formula is dual cast, magic type, innate and learned. Start constructing the learned magic first. The spell is Neutron's pulse, and the goal is to form a powerful magnetic field in the shape of a cone starting from Demogorgon all the way back until 500 meters from the closest humanoid. The magic is the innate expansion of the void expansion, twisted void, but constrain it to 2 targets, me and Demogorgon. All the void between my fist and his chest should collapse, pulling me toward him. Upon impact, release the hold on the matter that got compressed between us and unleash the blast through the neutron's pulse. He's gathering an enormous amount of magic. I should escape to the abyss. I have an advantage there. That was the first thing Demogorgon thought of. Quasar, everything flashed white as Gojo blasted at Demogorgon. The shockwave could be heard from the elvish capital half an hour later, and its light illuminated the sky in a blinding flash. Thud. Gojo landed in the burning land, staring around. A black crack in the sky was left where Demogorgon was. I'm sure I punched him. Did he escape? Thud. Demogorgon fell into the abyss, half of his body blown off. To think I would be injured twice in a row. Is the age of the gods coming back, the age where monsters roam the world? He stood, giggling, as his body instantly regenerated. A quarter of my power isn't enough to stop that man. I should wait here, and I will kill him first when I recover. He swore vengeance. Crack, a massive black claw emerged from the closing gate, and Demogorgon could feel a shiver run down his spine. A massive draconic eye stared from the crack. Dinner! A second claw emerged, forcing the gate to grow wider and wider. He's forcing the dimension gate to open. No way, those black claws, the worms that prowl the ethereal realm between the plans of existence. Gojo slipped through the gate in his draconic form like a cat through tight fences, his eyes fixated on Demogorgon. Found you, clack. Demogorgon transformed into his full form, turning to run away. Void expansion. Twisting Void, Chapter 507, Absolute Destruction. Demogorgon looked back as he ran away. He wants nothing to do with a void dragon. Had he known from the start, he wouldn't have engaged in the first place. Gojo, in his draconic form, lifted his hands, expanding his wings as he stared at the running Demogorgon. Extreme regeneration, sure kill poison, and absurd strength. Simple, yet potent powers worthy of a demon lord. Gojo thought, the void slowly gushing between his claws. It's been a while since I needed to use this at full power. I hope you survive it so we can fight again. Void expansion, twisting void. Gojo's void expanded in the blink of an eye, swallowing 4,000 kilometers of sphere around him. Unlike Arad's expansion, he didn't suck things into his stomach, but instead twisted the void of the real world. They were in the middle of Demogorgon's domain in the abyss, the lands he ruled and drove power from, yet a large chunk of it was covered in the blink of an eye, trapping him inside his domain. The demon lord Demogorgon is effectively an immortal being, an indestructible entity that towers over everything else. Yet even he runs away from an adult void dragon, as those creatures are unfair, much like the other magic dragons, the light and time dragons. Since he was in the abyss, Gojo didn't need to hold back or care about his surroundings. All he needed was to blast the demon lord with everything he had. Swash! Demogorgon's body got blasted into vapor. A void exists everywhere. Gojo's void erased it from the atoms, causing them to collapse and fuse together. The result was extremely unstable compressed matter, waiting to burst in a nuclear fusion. From every point in Gojo's expansion, that fusion exploded toward Demogorgon over and over, fueled by the matters he consumed from the abyss when expanding his void. Even though the crust looked pitch black, the insides of Gojo's expansion shined with light brighter than the stars as countless beams of light rained down on the demon lord, killing him hundreds of thousands of times. After about 1 minute, Gojo could feel that he was running out of matter to burn, a common problem in his domain. Shifting his hands, Gojo decreased the radius of his domain by 500 meters, creating outer layer of void that pulls matter into it. The demons who were right on the edge screamed as they ran away, seeing mountains get swept into this burning engine of doom. After sucking a full kilometer of matter around his expansion, Gojo's 500 meters of void reached its limit pulling rate and couldn't suck more. Yet he wasn't satisfied with how many times Demogorgon had died, so he went for more. Gojo closed his wings, falling with the demon lord across the layers of the abyss. His expansion ate everything in their way as he kept cooking Demogorgon. Demon lords are immortal as the abyss itself, even if they were killed. Their bodies will form once again from the ashes of the limitless darkness of the abyss. Yet they kept their memories and power. The countless deaths Gojo inflicted on Demogorgon seeped into his soul and mind, cracking them piece by piece until that became the norm. Crack. Gojo's void expansion stopped, and he landed on the ground, staring forward. The newly regenerated body of the demon lord Demogorgon stood motionless as a corpse. His mind and soul already accepted death. It will be another century until he recovers. Gojo stared at him. As much as I want to eat you, I doubt my stomach can digest an immortal being. You would only give me pain for now. He turned to leave. Stay here like preserved meat until I grow old enough to devour your soul. Flap, flap, flap. He soared across the sky of the abyss. The demons watched in terror from afar as the outsider cracked a massive portal in the sky, leaving with a roar as he only left destruction in his wake. Crack. The sky in the world shattered. Gojo fell down in his humanoid form, landing in Arad's forest. He looked around with a smile. Got the coordination right. You're back. What happened to that demon lord? Zephyr was there awaiting him. If he had run back here, she would have needed to fight Demogorgon herself. I won, he replied. That thing is immortal, especially in the abyss. She stared at him. You're more absurd than your brother, she sighed. I'm older after all. He would become just as strong when he ages. All living beings struggle in their early life, striving to survive and grow. Gojo walked toward Zephyr, cracking his neck. That was a bit exhausting, so I'm going to rest a bit. Call me if any other monster appeared. I could feel that Demogorgon was weakened a lot. I doubt you would win against a full-powered demon lord. She stared at him. Gojo scratched his chin. Nah, I'd win. He giggled. I have to. I must win. He looked back at her. Me and Arad lost our parents. I feel like it's my responsibility as the older one to make sure my younger brother has a home to return to. Zephyr smiled. He has wives unlike you. I lack the drive of the void dragons. Gojo giggled. That's why I must protect my brother's hoard. You, his wives, this city, and the people in it all are a part of his wealth. If he doesn't feel safe, leaving it in his brother's hand, then to whom? Zan Gojo disappeared. As Zugmoy walked back toward her throne, Arad stood behind her. She stopped. It should take several hours for you to wake up. Were you weaker than I thought? Crack. The fungi on Arad's body withered as he patted the dust out of his clothes. How annoying. He already saw it. A woman's voice came from Arad's throat, and Zugmoy stared back. The grim future, I saw, Doma said, extending her hand forward. Who are you? Zugmoy glared at Arad, sensing that the one talking was someone else. A cursed brat who saw the future, Doma replied. Now, pay for your sins with your destiny. Whore who dared lay her hands on my husband. Chapter 508. Doma's Curse. Doma lifted her hand. Prepare to die. Crack. The sky above them cracked, and the two looked up in shock. A large demon lunged out, flying toward Zugmoy, crying his eyes, Mother, save me, clang from behind him. Merida lunged out, slicing his body in half. The rampaging Merida. Her goal was to end the infection and the fate that fell upon her family. To that end, she was no fool. Killing the infected was meaningless, and even killing the demon that contracted the Kuchilla family was foolish. Unless she burns the main source, their rot will spread again, and the demon queen will send another demon to lead her armies. Merida wanted the demon queen dead, and the fungus infecting her body wished a similar goal, to overthrow their mother and take control of her power. To both ends, their way leads only to Zugmoy's death. A symbiotic relationship was born between the two. The fungi draw power from Zugmoy and give it to Merida, and she uses her skills and will to guide that power back toward the demon queen. Doing that will slowly cause Zugmoy's power to flood into Merida's fungi, and when the balance ticks in its favor for more than half, the demon queen's authority will shift users. Merida and her fungi goal were obvious: get as close to Zugmoy as possible and clash with her. suck over half of her power and take her place. Merida's eyes shifted aside, seeing Arad. Arad, she gasped. No time to explain, Doma replied. His brain and spine were damaged. It will take him a few minutes to wake up again. She pointed one finger at Zugdmoy. Unluck Zugdmoy could feel her limbs getting weaker. We talk over this. She can't hear us this way. Doma created a telepathic link between her and Merida. What brought you here? Those are my words. What is Arad doing here? He wasn't supposed to get involved in this mess. Merida screamed back at her. We came looking for you then. This demon queen pulled us to her domain. I was planning to blind her and run away, but having you here gives us a fighting chance. Doma smiled. Isn't that right? Fungus. The fungus in Merida's body giggled at this point. It had already developed its own consciousness. I already absorbed 10% of Mother's power. Get me over 50% and it will be our win. Doma lifted her hand, chained. Taurus chains appeared around Merida's neck and torso. Sorry, a temporary curse, but it will increase your physical powers in exchange for your magic and freedom. You can do that. Merida and the fungi are two in one, but are still two separate souls. By cursing Merida to be her slave for a few minutes, she could rob her of all her mana and then grant her one of Arad's constellation Taurus. The same curse she used on her parents to grant them curses after death. Bam! The two lunged at Zugdmoy, Merida taking the front line while Doma supported her with spells from the back. 1 minute and a half until Arad wakes up. I only hope he comes sane. Doma declared, I'll need 7 minutes to reach 50%. Let's hope he can at least help, the fungus added. Since most of his nervous system got destroyed, his consciousness retreated to my soul, and we switched places. But that also means he can see my mind, Doma said as she blasted Zugdmoy away as Merida slashed her. I know you might have some embarrassing memories, but it's not time to worry about that. Merida replied, He can see everything about me if he wants. What I fear is him looking through my clairvoyance. It's the natural talent I used to see him when I was young. Doma flew back, conjuring a barrier to protect Merida from one of Zugdmoy's attacks. Then I hope he can see a way to beat this thing. I shouldn't call it a talent, but a curse. It's my curse, and only I should suffer from it. He doesn't need to see what shouldn't be seen. Swash! Arad floated in the middle of the air, looking down only to see himself and all his wives standing in front of a silver coffin. He's the one who carried it all the way to a large golden tomb, leaving it in the central chamber. Hundreds of years passed, and he finally reached his twilight, turning into dust and leaving his wives awaiting massive ant-like beasts, destroying the world and islands floating in the limitless blue sky. Thousands of years passed, and he could see white-haired twins chained down to an altar with a cult screaming his name. From their ritual, he emerged yet turned to on them, dropping the world's islands back to the ground. Several thousand years, and he woke up from his slumber, surpassing the limits of his twilight. On a journey he went, chasing the remnants of his wives to summon them back to him, in front of his eyes. Hundreds of thousands of years passed, and the world changed rapidly. A retired god fooling with humans, a little girl falling back into the golden temple he once put the coffin in, and a great power answering her call. A 1 year that seemed like an eternity when the world stopped moving. Arad's mind got bombarded with the unhinged nature of Doma's curse, clairvoyance that looks into the future. Gah! Arad opened his eyes, panting, as he fell to his knees. What? He looked aside, seeing Merida dodging Zugdmoy's mushroom tentacles, slicing them one after the other. Bam! Zugdmoy turned, seeing Arad with a clenched fist behind. This witch never wait, where are the tattoos? Arad had seen glimpses of the far future, informing him that what he knew the power he currently possesses is a mere droplet in what awaits. Merida, the one he came searching for, is here with him. All he needs is to stop this demon so she can be safe. I did it before in hell, and I can do it again, just like how my brother did it, how Doma explained it first. The void exists everywhere. Crush it with your will and cause it to collapse. Clack! Arad's fist smashed into Zugmoy's face, and blue lightning crackled from his knuckles up to his shoulders. The air between his fist and Zugmoy's face crumbled on itself, igniting in a bright flash. It was far weaker than what Gojo could produce, but the same thing nonetheless. Just like a kid's punch compared to that of an adult. What Arad lacked was only time. A beam of light flashed, and Zugmoy's body flew away, missing half of her face. "Doma!" Arad shouted. "Prepare to blast her with Orion!" Arad clenched his fists as massive amounts of his mana flew to the sky, conjuring a massive lump of stone. "Merida, come with me! We're holding her off! Bam!" He lunged forward, swinging his fist at the Demon Queen. "Yes!" Merida cried, rushing after him. Unlike Demogorgon, Zugmoy relied more on her servants than her raw power. He was a lone hunter, while she was a commander, Chapter 509 power from the scales. Clang! Zugmoy flew back, glaring at the two rushing at her. Arad pulled the adamantine sword from his stomach. "Doma, you two had a plan, right?" She started dumping the information into his head as he swung his sword. Clang! Clang! Using her long mushroom tentacles, Zugmoy deflected Arad's swings and tried to stab his head. Clack! Merida jumped in, deflecting the tentacle before it could pierce Arad's neck. Arad jumped over Merida's back and swung a punch at Zugmoy's face. Crackle! She could feel her neck crack, and the shockwave of his punch radiated down to her feet. Swash! Merida slipped between Arad's legs and swung her sword at Zugmoy's knees. Crack! She couldn't cut them, but the impact was enough to drop her down. Before she could hit the ground, Arad kicked her face, forcing her to stand again where Merida swung at her face. "Those two are in sync." No, she's the one following his moves. At this rate, getting out of their combo is hard, Zugmoy thought, being thrown left and right by Arad and Merida. Why a weed? At this rate, they would kill me. Her rocked from left to right, white mucus splashing out of her wounds. No, even one death is insulting. Her eyes turned white. Fungal garden from the ground around Zugmoy's feet. Sharp mushrooms sprouted like spears as thick as hair. Arad snatched Merida and started void, stepping everywhere, dodging the countless thrusts. Should I transform? No, that would make me a larger target. Arad started thinking of a plan to buy time. She can't be petrified and doesn't have blood, so my vampire skills won't work. She's quite resistant to magic as well. Merida's fungus slowly absorbed Zugmoy's power and weakened her. But that takes time. Arad's mind raced to find a way to survive, even for a few more minutes. It was then that the images Arad saw from Doma's clairvoyance came to his mind. In the far future, humans used my scales to lift islands into the sky to escape the monsters ravaging the land. Thud. Arad stood, letting Merida stand behind him as he smiled, with his nails scrapped scales from his shoulders and arms. I got a nice idea. It's the same in the capital when I spread my magic with void expansion to locate targets and activate magic around them. But not I'll use a more permanent attachment. He threw one fistful toward Zugmoy and sent one into his stomach. The scales around Zugmoy started floating, pulling stones toward them with gravity magic until they formed 1-meter radius balls. They then burst into flames, resembling meteors as they started orbiting Zugmoy, ready to fall on her head. I do have more. A wall of the void appeared behind Arad, and the weapons he gathered from all the bandits he killed slowly poked through, pointing at Zugmoy. I have a hoard, a treasury, so I might as well use it. All those weapons have a scale on them that he uses to control them with gravity magic. Zugmoy stared at Arad. This bastard. He's growing by the second. D. Zugmoy pointed her palm at him, sending hundreds of tentacles his way. Bam! Arad rushed forward. The swords floating around him, deflecting Zugmoy's tentacles and shattering with each deflection. Clack! The meteors he created started smacking Zugmoy left and right, never giving her a chance to rest or focus, as I thought. Zugmoy growled, "You kind are better off dead. You magic dragons are monsters that shouldn't exist." The tentacles rushing at Arad increased. Thud, time, slow. Arad has been keeping this in the back seat. He didn't touch it since the last fight he had with 5, but it's always nice to keep a hidden card all the time. Time slowed by 90%, and Arad's sword burst with void as jets of flame pushed him from the back, accelerating him further. Arad cut all of Zugdmoy's tentacles in the blink of an eye, his blade reaching her body before she could even realize it. Action surge, adrenaline rush, vroom clap. 28 attacks fell on Zugdmoy, chopping her head off and dicing her body as Arad blasted through her. At that moment, when Zugdmoy realized that her head was chopped, all the meteors fell on her, exploding with enough power to incinerate her flesh. Arad stood in the back, laughing as blood trailed down his nose. Keeping all this magic active wasn't easy on his mind, but he wasn't going to stop anywhere soon. Each time a meteor exploded, Arad's scale flew out of it, picked more stone, and ignited again for another attack. An endless rain of meteors kept falling on where Zugdmoy dropped as Arad tried his best to keep her dead as long as possible. He's a monster. The fungi in Merida's body said, "Stop talking and hurry. We need you to absorb her power as quickly as possible." Merida growled at him. "I don't know how long he will last." Gentle words from the one who once tried to throw all of this on him and hide behind his back, the fungi replied. "Shut up. That's none of your business, just saying. But I'm at 30% of her power. Hold for a bit longer." Crackle. As Merida watched, she heard something in the sky. Orion, the constellation Arad assigned Doma to create. As she looked up, her eyes opened wide. A titanic ball of flames blazed above them, and a comet powerful enough to blast the Demon Queen to ash was getting born. Halley's comet, at one moment. An aneurysm burst in Arad's brain from keeping this much magic active, and his mind stopped working for a second. That slither of time was enough for Zugdmoy to come back to life, sending one of her tentacles blazing toward him and piercing his chest. "You're still a mere mortal," Zugdmoy shouted as her body regenerated. Thud. Arad crabbed her tentacle with his hand, a smile on his face. "I caught you." 40%? Merida shouted. Void expansion. Devouring Void, Chapter 510. Void's Assault. Chapter 510 Void's Assault. Void expansion. Devouring Void, darkness expanded from Arad, covering him, Zugdmoy, and Merida in the blink of an eye. The Demon Queen stared at Arad as her tentacle pierced his chest. Useless struggle. "I don't need to breathe, and such pressure won't pose a problem for me." Zugdmoy smiled. Zugdmoy, the Demon Queen of fungi. She didn't need to breathe, and creatures at her power level were already beings above the natural order. Surviving in the void for a few hours wouldn't be a problem for her. Crack, a fist landed on her face. From one eye she saw a ragged man with a black beard, a blinded left eye, and a smile on his face. Behind him, tens of armed men and women lunged with blood spears, vampire spawns. Zugdmoy knew what they were instantly. Such weaklings, do you think they can? Crackle. Lightning crackled from the bearded man's fist, exploding with a flash and ripping half of her face out. That was the same beam Arad used before. Bam! The bearded man jumped back, carrying Arad and flying away. "Deal with her," he shouted. As her face regenerated, Zugdmoy's eyes could see it, the scales of Arad implanted deep into the spawn's bodies. Just like the meteors, he can activate his magic on them. The spawns jumped at her, thrusting with their spears, punching and kicking like they went insane. Each of their attacks unleashed a beam of light, ripping her body apart. The bearded man looked back. "Gang up on her. Rip her apart. You're bandits. You know how to do that," he smiled. "It's the master's orders. Keep her at bay at all costs." The spawns weren't fast enough to keep up with Zugdmoy's speed, but since the bearded man's fist punch landed and stunned her for a while, they could keep her locked in a stun by damaging her constantly. Blug. Arad coughed blood as his chest slowly healed. "Master, here, blood!" The bearded man pulled a red potion. Arad downed the potion immediately and took a deep breath. "Thanks, Zora. I didn't think this would work as well as I expected it." "I told you to trust us." The bearded man smiled. No matter how strong an opponent is, once we get him beneath our boots, they are merely a rug. He then looked toward Zugmoy and the spawns, is what I want to say. But that's a demon lord, the demon queen Zugmoy, he growled. I doubt the boys can keep her busy for longer. Arid and Zora stopped. You go protect Merida. We don't want her or the fungi interrupted. I will blast Zugmoy. Take care, master. No, my lord. Zora flew toward Merida as Arad faced Zugmoy. Arad took a deep breath, ripping his shirt off with one hand. Brother mentioned that Eris's plasma was a mix of lighting and fire magic drawn from her draconic blood. Zon, a massive ball of stone and dirt, appeared above Arad's head. Crack! In the blink of an eye, it got crushed into a nail-sized marble of pure light. The marble of compressed, voidless matter floated down to Arad's face. He opened his mouth, transforming into his half-dragon form. Lightning crackled from his wings and shoulders as flames burned inside his chest, escaping from his nose and mouth. Arad opened his jaw, swallowing the orb of light crack. He stood on all fours, anchoring himself to the ground with all his limbs and tail. His stomach and chest expanded, white light escaping through his flesh as the compressed matter and plasma got mixed inside him. His half-dragon body wasn't able to contain all that heat and power, so he shifted into his full draconic form. Zon, Zon, Zon. The light expanded from his stomach, up to his chest and through his long neck. The volatile mixture released an ear-piercing screech as it boiled even in the void, signaling that whatever Arad was about to spit out. It was louder, not just in sound. Zora stared at Merida. Close your ears, if we can hear it now. It means matter is escaping from his body to the void. I can hear you, and who are you? Merida stared at him. The man crossed his arms. Zora, former bandit leader and currently the second in command for my lord's spawns. We can hear each other because my lord is covering your body with air so you can breathe. It's a 2-meter radius sphere around you, and since I'm in it, we can talk. And that attack is? Merida asked. The man scratched his beard. Excuse my language, lady, but I can't find other words to describe it. He pointed toward Zugmoy. That attack is so horrid, I can't see anything surviving it, living, inanimate, or else. It burns everything, causing the matter itself to ignite. He smiled. I call it the fuck everything in that general direction. Clack! Arad's jaw opened, and a beam of white light rushed out. Bursting with a loud boom, Merida felt her bones crack from the sound alone. Splat. The spawns turned to blood, escaping away as Zugmoy regenerated. She looked to the side, seeing the pure light rushing at her. What? It didn't even take a fraction of a second for Arad's breath to evaporate her body with everything else in her direction. Even his expansion got ripped open from the side. Did he get her? Merida looked closely, but she could see something forming back up. She was an undying demon lord. Even if her whole body was evaporated, she would get resurrected by the abyss itself. Zon, Zon, Zon. More light started emerging in Arad's stomach. No way, he can fire that thing multiple times? Merida gasped. No, he can't. Zora growled, glaring at Arad. My lord, stop it. Your organs are already charred from the first breath. He screamed, but Arad kept charging his breath. Zora scratched his head. I said, stop it. You will lose control over it and explode. You'll kill us all, including her, he pointed at Merida. Zon Arad stopped charging the second breath and fell down, bleeding from his mouth and nose. After about half a minute, Zugmoy's body reformed and she stared at them with a smile. Did he finally fall, that annoying void brat? She laughed. What did you just call my husband? Whore. Doma glared down at Zugmoy, lifting one finger to the sky. I said it, didn't I? You're going to pay with your destiny. Something ranked in Merida's head. We're over 50%. Her demon lord status has transferred to my fungus. She's a mere demon now. What? Zugmoy looked at her hands. She can no longer hear the voices of her fungi around the abyss. She was overthrown from her throne. Doma smiled. Demons like you should crawl on the ground like worms. This suits you more, Swash. She pointed down with her finger crack. Arad extended his wing over Merida and Zora, covering them as his void expansion disappeared. As Doma's figure disappeared with the void expansion, a large meteor was revealed in the sky, Halley's Comet, one of the strongest meteors in the Orionids of Orion constellation.